Chapter 890. The ambulance took the 3 seriously injured people away. Su Yun's heart was in a mess. Because of the commotion, Wan Qingshuang and Zhuo Meiyan came out. Lin Gu and Wang Zhe also looked around vigilantly. They were worried that there would be more radical terrorists. Recently, society was not very peaceful. Northern Ji was not the first city to have a terrorist attack. The security guard captain blamed himself. It was inevitable that he would have to bear the responsibility. Now he felt guilty. After all, it was not easy to find a high-paying job in Sky Entertainment. If he lost his job because of this incident, it would be troublesome. Alas, he did not know if it was because of his zodiac year. In the past 6 months, he had encountered enough bad luck. It seemed that he really needed to change to a new pair of red underwear. Block the evil spirit. The incident happened in front of Sky Entertainment. The target was Su Yun. Today Su Yun could not stay idle. He was afraid that he would not be able to eat lunch. He felt sorry for Tangjiu, but Tangjiu did not care. She cared about why the person wanted to hurt Su Yun. Because the severity of the case had exceeded the scope of the police's abilities, the Criminal Police Major Crimes Investigation Unit took over the entire incident. After a series of on-site investigations, all of them were very surprised. It could even be said that they couldn't believe that such a thing would happen to such a person. Although the fat man driving the Audi was not very powerful in Northern Ji, he was still a small boss of a decoration company. He relied on his uncle, the director of the construction bureau, to get a lot of construction work in the city. Although he did not make a lot of money, he made a lot of money. Otherwise, he would not have looked down on the domestic A6 and spent hundreds of thousands more to buy an imported A6. Obviously, this guy could not be a terrorist. He was from Northern Ji. His family's network was quite big. The quality of his life was also very good. If he volunteered to be a terrorist suicide squad, then he must have been possessed or had water in his brain. This person is called Zhang Feigua. Did he have any conflicts with you in the past? The criminal police department felt that this matter was quite tricky. Su Yun shook his head. I've never seen him before. There's no contact between us, let alone any grudges. Yes, that was the strangest part. Because the criminal police unit couldn't think of any motive for Zhang Feigua's crime. This was simply inexplicable. Could it be that this fellow had gone mad? This was because the 3 policemen had said that when they arrived, Zhang Feigua refused to get out of the car no matter what. He was so hot that he almost fainted in the car. In that case, the most reasonable explanation now was that Zhang Feigua had gone mad, because the 3 severely burned patients were still being treated. Because they were treated in time, their lives should not be in danger, but it would be difficult for them to escape punishment. The members of the criminal police unit were also at their wits' end. They could only wait for Zhang Feigua to wake up and ask some questions before they could make a judgment. Director Su, I'm really sorry. Since this happened in Sky Entertainment, I'll have to trouble you to come back to the team with us. The members of the criminal police unit were very polite to Su Yun. After all, Su Yun was now a big shot in Northern Ji, the big boss of Sky Entertainment. Who would dare to look down on him? Even the secretary of Northern Ji would have to look up to him. To be able to reach such a position at such a young age, he was not an ordinary person. Of course I'll cooperate. Su Yun nodded. He also wanted to find out what was going on. Zhuo Meiyan frowned slightly. She walked behind Su Yun and nudged him lightly. When the members of the criminal police unit saw this, they tactfully stepped back. Since this had happened in front of Sky Entertainment, as the leaders of the company, there were indeed some things that they needed to discuss. I think this matter is a little strange, Zhuo Meiyan said. It's definitely not that simple. I'm a little worried. Let me go to the criminal police unit. If anything happens, I can handle it. You just stay in the company obediently. Before we figure out what happened, don't go out and wander around. Su Yun knew what Zhuo Meiyan was worried about. He had the same doubts as her. Zhang Feigua and Sky Entertainment had nothing to do with each other. Besides, Zhang Feigua seemed to be mentally unstable before he did this. It was as though he had been controlled by someone. This was what Su Yun and Zhuo Meiyan were worried about. It's better for me to go, Su Yun said firmly. After all, his target is me. You won't be able to convince everyone. But, Zhou Meiyan wanted to say something. Su Yin didn't allow her to continue. He turned to leave with the members of the criminal police unit. Everyone knew very well that the decision Su Yin made could not be changed by others. After Su Yin left with the members of the criminal police unit, Zhou Meiyan glanced at Lin Ge. Lin Ge took advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was elsewhere to walk over to Zhou Meiyan. He asked her, "Sister Yan, did you notice something amiss?" Zhou Meiyan nodded. "Are you sure that the witch doctor who cast the black magic spell on Nagako Iguchi is dead?" Lin Ge looked shocked. "I'm very sure. I killed that fellow personally. There's no way he's still alive. I won't show mercy to such a person who harms others." "How much do you know about that witch doctor?" asked Zhou Meiyan. Lin Ge shook his head. "I only know that he is extremely ugly and has a lot of tattoos on his body. He looks just like Michael Scofield in the movie Prison Break. Judging from his looks, he must be from Nanyang. I always thought that witchcraft masters were old women. I didn't expect that it would be a man." Zhou Meiyan didn't know much about witchcraft masters from Nanyang, but she suspected that they were the culprits behind this. Perhaps they had gotten into big trouble after they had dealt with that witch doctor in Japan. Zhou Meiyan needed to do some research on the sorcerer families in Nanyang. She might be able to find something. In any case, she couldn't just sit around and wait for death. "Pigeon, get everyone to pay attention to their surroundings. Especially the security guards of Sky Entertainment. If they see anyone behaving abnormally, restrain them immediately. This is to prevent something like this from happening again." Lin Ge knew that something was amiss, so he understood that Zhou Meiyan's worries were necessary. "Sister Yin, don't worry. I'll be careful. I'll pick up Su Yun from the criminal police unit later," said Zhou Meiyan. "I'll leave this to you." Su Yun had been taken away by the criminal police unit, but they definitely wouldn't send him back after the investigation was over. In any case, Zhou Meiyan was really worried about this matter. Even if they sent Su Yun back, she would go with him personally. Now anyone could be the one causing them trouble. Lin Ge didn't slack off either. He immediately brought everyone back and instructed the captain of the security team to conduct a thorough investigation. Everyone in Sky Entertainment couldn't be let off if there was anything wrong with them. Lin Ge had to be extra careful when dealing with witchcraft masters. Chapter 891. After Su Yun was invited to the criminal police unit, whether it was the leaders in the unit, the division leader in charge of this matter, or the investigation specialist, they were all quite polite to him. After unilaterally giving Su Yun a statement, they still needed information from the hospital. Obviously, Zhang Feiguo would be interrogated immediately after the rescue. "Captain Qi, I have a presumptuous request. If you're going to the hospital now, can you take me with you?" "Su Yun, you know that this matter is related to me, and I also want to know the reason. Moreover, 2 of my employees were also burned, and their family members are probably here by now. It's hard to convince them with just the department head, so I'd like to comfort them." Su Yun's words were reasonable. This was human nature. Qi Kiliang from the criminal police unit nodded and agreed. "All right, since CEO Su is so cooperative with our work, we couldn't ask for more. I'm going to the hospital to check on the situation. Zhang Feiguo's family members have also been notified, and they need us to give them an explanation as soon as possible." After confirming, they didn't waste any more time, and immediately got into the car and rushed to the hospital. Zhou Meiyan, who had been waiting for Su Yun at the entrance of the traffic police station, started the car and followed him without hesitation. She didn't know that it was Su Yun who asked to go to the hospital. She thought that the criminal police unit was going to take him somewhere. Zhou Meiyan didn't relax until she followed him to the hospital. She knew that Su Yun must have known that she was following him, but he didn't get out of the car with them. After seeing Su Yun and Qi Kiliang enter the hospital, she immediately called Zui Yeming. After the incident, she arranged for Zui Yeming to come to the hospital to comfort the 2 security guards' family members. She also told Zui Yeming that if it weren't for the 2 security guards, the ones who were burned and hospitalized might have been Su Yun and Tang Jiu. Therefore, he had to take good care of them and make arrangements. No matter what conditions the family members had, as long as they weren't too excessive, he had to agree to them. Zui Yeming knew that Su Yun was coming, so he was more or less prepared. After all, the two security guards' family members were emotionally unstable, and he was worried that they would vent their anger on Su-yun. Since ancient times, Huaxia had always believed that money could make the world go round. Zui Yeming once again requested for compensation from the families of the two security guards. Everyone listen to me. Our boss Su is very concerned about this matter. He came to the hospital right after he finished his work with the criminal police unit. Zui Yeming said, "Don't worry about this matter. Sky Entertainment will not ignore it. As for the 600,000 yuan compensation for each worker, that's not a problem at all. Sky Entertainment would take full responsibility. At the same time, we will fight for the greatest benefits for you. We will not let the person who hurt you off easily. We will try our best to get more compensation from him." Perhaps money was the most comforting thing at a time like this. Hearing the manager of Sky Entertainment say that 600,000 yuan wasn't a problem, and that he might even help them get more compensation, the family members of the two injured security guards were too embarrassed to say anything more. At this time, Su-yun, Qi and several other people from the criminal police team came to the ward. Knowing that the two security guards were out of danger, Su-yun breathed a sigh of relief. But the serious burns really made his heart ache. "If you have any requests, just tell us. As long as it's within our ability, we will do our best." They were injured during work. No matter what, Sky Entertainment will not abandon them. If they can still work after they recover, Sky Entertainment's door will always be open to them. If they can't continue to work, Sky Entertainment will definitely take full responsibility. Whether it's a living problem or a child's school problem, we won't ignore it. You don't have to worry about the medical expenses. We will take care of all the non-reimbursable medical expenses. Nowadays, such a loyal boss was really rare. The family members of the two security guards were instantly moved by Su-yun. Originally, they thought that they would only be compensated 100 or 80,000 yuan at most. After deducting the medical expenses, they were afraid that not only would they not have any money left, but they would also have to pay a lot more. But now, Zui Yeming had promised to compensate them with 600,000 yuan. And then Su-yun had promised to take care of all the non-reimbursable medical expenses. He would also take care of their living problems and children's problems in the future. This made their hearts feel warm and indescribably comfortable. After the criminal police team comforted the family members, they took Su-yun to the ward upstairs. In order to avoid unnecessary conflicts, they didn't arrange for the two parties to be in the ICU on the same floor. After all, Zhang Feiguo was the arsonist. When they arrived at the ward upstairs, the atmosphere was just as heavy as the one downstairs. But in this heavy atmosphere, there was an extra layer of dark clouds. Because they were the family members of the injured party, the few police officers who stayed in the hospital saw Qi Kiliang and greeted him. When they saw Sky Entertainment's president Su, they were a bit surprised. After all, the guy who was badly burned was the one who wanted to harm him. How could he dare to come here? "Is Zhang Feiguo awake?" Qi Kiliang asked. Zhang Feiguo's wife suddenly rushed over like a hungry wolf and knelt down in front of Qi Kiliang. "Boss, you must be able to see through everything. Our Feiguo isn't a psychopath. He has no reason to cause trouble at Sky Entertainment. Our Fei Kingdom must have been forced by someone to do this. Don't be agitated. Get up first." Qi Kiliang helplessly helped the family member up. After Zhang Feiguo's wife got up, she glared at Su-yun with a pair of frightened and angry eyes. "It's you. You must have offended someone. Our Feiguo has fallen to this state because of you. Now that he's been saved, you're going to hold him accountable? Do you have any humanity left? Don't be unreasonable." The police were afraid that Zhang Feiguo's wife would vent her anger, so they immediately stepped forward to stop her. Zhang Feiguo's wife didn't dare to act rashly in front of the police, so she could only suppress her anger. However, Su-yun didn't get angry because of this. Instead, he said to Zhang Feiguo's wife, "I came here precisely because I felt that there was something fishy about this. I hope that this really has nothing to do with Mr. Zhang. If he was really threatened or deceived by someone, not only will I not hold you accountable, but I will also apologize to you. If this happened because of me, I will definitely take responsibility." Su Yun knew very well that if it was because they offended the Nanyang black magic masters in Dongying that caused ordinary people to be controlled by black magic and turned into puppets, he had to take responsibility for all of this. Zhang Feigua's wife didn't expect Su Yun to say this. For a moment, anger, gratitude, anxiety, pain, hope, and all sorts of emotions mixed together. She didn't know what to do or say next. If Zhang Feigua can speak now, I want to ask him a few questions, Qi Kuliang said. He was from the criminal police, so of course, no one would stop him. Su Yun followed behind him and entered Zhang Feigua's ward. Chapter 892. After everyone left the hospital, Su Yun refused Qi Kuliang's offer to send him back to Sky Entertainment. After watching the criminal police officers leave, he walked straight to Zhou Meiyan's car, opened the door and got in. Zhou Meiyan was looking up something on her tablet. When she saw Su Yun get in the car, she immediately turned to look at Su Yun and asked, "What happened? What did Zhang Feigua say?" Su Yun seemed to be in a heavy mood. He shook his head and sighed. "It looks like this has something to do with me. Zhang Feigua doesn't know what he did. His eyes tell me that he's not lying. His memories are from before he was set on fire. As for how he drove to Sky Entertainment, he doesn't know anything." Zhou Meiyan's expression became serious after hearing this. What about before? Does he remember what happened before he came to Sky Entertainment? Yes. Su Yun nodded. He said he had an appointment with a client at a tea house. After the meeting, he sent the client away. He only remembers how he felt. He said his mind kept telling him that he was hot, but he couldn't remember anything after that until he was set on fire. Are you sure he's not lying? Zhou Meiyan confirmed again. Su Yun was very sure. After he was saved, he didn't think he set someone on fire, but that he was set on fire. Even now, he still can't accept the fact that he set someone on fire. If his wife didn't tell him, he would have suspected that he was set on fire. Also, there's one more thing that confirms this. Zhang Feigua doesn't smoke, nor does he have a habit of carrying a lighter. You know the rules of Sky Entertainment. Security guards aren't allowed to smoke during work. They don't have any lighters on them. Zhou Meiyan had thought of this a long time ago. She didn't find any lighters at the scene of the incident. No one could explain how the fire was set on fire. Even the criminal police officers said it was too strange. They had never encountered something like this in all their years. I'm afraid there's only one explanation. Zhou Meiyan let out a long sigh of relief. I'm afraid that the black magic master we killed in Dongying has returned to cause trouble for us. The dead can't be brought back to life. I'm sure of that. Su Yun said, since Lin Gu made sure that he killed that guy, it couldn't have been that tame headmaster. There must be someone else. Maybe it's that black magic master's friend, relative, or even fellow disciples. Zhou Meiyan shook her head. No, it was the black magic master himself. Su Yun's face turned gloomy. Zhou Meiyan wouldn't joke around with him at this time. It was obvious that she had some evidence. Zhou Meiyan handed the tablet in her hand to Su Yun. Su Yun saw some information on the ancient black magic masters, and some legends that Zhou Meiyan had searched for. There was a picture of a man covered in tattoos, from his neck to his shoulders, arms, back, waist, and all the way down to his ankles. There were all kinds of strange tattoos on his body. If this person was seen by brainless non-mainstream people and rural punks, they would definitely shout that he was cool. However, Su Yun couldn't help but feel disgusted after taking a closer look. The tattoos on his body weren't totems, nor were they dragons, tigers, phoenixes, fishes, or whatever. They weren't Guan Yu, Mithria, or Guanyin. Instead, they were all kinds of creepy insects. The most eye-catching one was the long green snake coiled around his body. The most disgusting one was the black maggot curled up into a ball. In any case, the more Su Yun looked at it, the more disgusted he felt. Why are you showing me this? Su Yun took a deep breath and adjusted his breathing. There are many black magic masters in Nanyang, and many of them are known as the most powerful black magic masters. However, among them, there's one sect that's the most mysterious, and no one dares to offend them. Zhou Meiyan said, it's this black magic sect that I'm showing you. They tattoo all kinds of insects that they can use to control others on their bodies, and inject them with the blood and souls of the insects. Every different creature on their bodies is tattooed with the liquid color of that creature. Therefore, to a certain extent, their tattoos are all alive and have souls. They are all alive. Su-yin sucked in a breath of cold air. This sounded really creepy. Although he didn't have lunch, Su-yin probably wouldn't be able to eat anything in the afternoon. Just the disgust alone was enough to fill him up. Look at the records. The number of insects tattooed on the body of the black magic masters of this sect represents the number of lives they have. Zhuo said, once they are injured, the insects with souls in the injured area will die in place of the black magic master, and the black magic master will be resurrected. Su-yin looked at the picture of the person tattooed with insects. The person in the picture had a giant bat tattooed on his neck. So you're saying that even though Pigeon is very sure that he slit the neck of the black magic master, the one who died was not the black magic master, but a bat? Su-yin could even hear the sound of his own heartbeat. Zhuo nodded. Maybe it's not a bat. It depends on what the person tattooed on his neck. I haven't confirmed it with Pigeon yet, but I think we'll know once we ask him when we get back. Su-yin was feeling uneasy at the moment. Either way, they had offended someone that they couldn't afford to offend. Misfortune never came singly these days. Unlucky things kept happening one after another. Then let's go back and ask him. There were too many strange things in the world, and too many things that science couldn't explain. It wasn't that Su-yin was superstitious, nor did he believe in supernatural theories. However, he had personally experienced witchcraft, so he was sure of its existence. After listening to Su-yin and Zhuo explanation, Lin Ji's expression became a little panicked. Yes, Zhuo was right. If she hadn't mentioned it, he wouldn't have remembered. Now that he thought about it, the tattoos on that guy's body were indeed insects. All kinds of them. Disgusting. Furthermore, there was a giant black bat tattooed on his neck. That's right. It must be. As Lin Gu had personally slit that guy's throat, he remembered very clearly that after the black magic master's throat was slit, the bat tattooed on his neck was also torn in half. Zhuo heart skipped a beat. It seemed like the ancient legends in Southeast Asia were true. There really was such a type of black magic master, who could use them to lock the souls of insects under their control, to save their own lives and souls. Su-yin also took a deep breath and cursed. The world was too big, and there were all kinds of strange things. He really didn't know if he was facing a human or a ghost. Who would have thought that after so many years, Southeast Asia's witchcraft hadn't been devoured by time. Instead, what was left behind were even more vicious and terrifying people. Chapter 893. This question really stumped Su-yin. The only thing Su-yin could guarantee now was, none of us should eat outside food for the time being. Pigeon, you personally supervise the chefs in the company cafeteria. If there are any abnormalities, tell me immediately. When dealing with a tame headmaster, the first thing to pay attention to is what you put into your mouth. Okay. Lin Gu nodded heavily. He would definitely pay attention to this matter. Meiyan, you let Zhuo Yeming be in charge of comforting the security guards' families. If they ask for more material and financial help, give them more material and financial compensation. This incident started with us, and they were all implicated for no reason. Su-yin. Also, use your connections to inform the police that we will not pursue any responsibility for Zhang Feigua's actions, and request that his sentence be reduced. We know the reason. He was just used by a tame headmaster. He didn't do this with his own will and thoughts. Under such circumstances, he is just like us, a victim. Zhuo nodded. Of course she understood this. She immediately went to solve the current problem. Innocent people were implicated because of them, and she had the responsibility to take responsibility for them. However, if she told the real reason, no one would believe her. They could only find a way to solve the problem themselves. After arranging things, Su-yin went to Ruan Qingshuang's office. Under Ruan Qingshuang's careful care, the pots of qi consolidating grass had already sprouted. According to the plant's fast growth cycle, it should be able to grow leaves in 2 or 3 days. Ruan Qingshuang saw Su-yin's gloomy face and felt a pang of heartache. I know you feel helpless about what's happening now, but please believe that no matter what difficulties there will always be a solution. It's just like, back then, I lost all hope in life but in the end I persevered. Isn't that right? Su-Yun smiled slightly. You are now my inspirational role model. Sister Shuang. I originally promised you that after the ribbon cutting at the Film and Television Square, I would take you to Nanjiang to thoroughly investigate Yuan Chao's matter. Now I am entangled in such a big trouble. That incident happened many years ago. I don't mind waiting a little longer, Yuan Qingshuang said. Compared to that incident, I'm more worried about your situation. I asked Pigeon, and even if we cultivate this qi consolidating grass, we still need the help of another person to refine the pill that can restore your strength. And that person is not easy to find. Su-Yun smiled bitterly. It was indeed not easy to find Huang Fugua. Although he believed that it was only a matter of time before he found him, what right did he have to ask Huang Fugua to save him? There were 3 emperors at the peak of the underground world, and Huang Fugua was one of them. As a terrifying master of the profound sky realm, Su-Yun, a master of the Grandmaster realm, was like an ant to him. What did the life and death of an ant have to do with him? But Su-Yun still forced himself to have hope. We will find him and find a way to get him to help me. You already have enough things to worry about. Don't waste your energy on me. Otherwise, I will feel even more guilty and blame myself. Yuan Qingshuang didn't say anything. She lowered her head and looked at the pots of qi consolidating grass that were full of vitality. She was the one who really felt guilty and blamed herself. There were so many things that she couldn't help Su-Yun. All she could do was plant some flowers and plant some grass. Compared to everything that Su-Yun had done, her heart was especially struggling and painful. At noon the next day, in the same situation at the same place, a black car was parked in front of the Sky Entertainment Group for a full hour like the day before. The person in the car was the same as Zhang Feigua. He didn't start the car, turn on the air conditioner, and didn't open the windows. He was like a patient hunter, enduring the torture of the heat and waiting for his prey. Because of what happened the day before, no one dared to act rashly. The security captain of the Sky Entertainment Group tried to make up for his negligence yesterday. He ordered everyone to prepare fire extinguishing equipment and be on standby to subdue any suspicious person. But Su-Yun gave a strict order that no one was allowed to approach the car. In the next 20 minutes of observation, Su-Yun finally found a suspicious person. In a cafe opposite the Sky Entertainment Group, a man wearing trousers, long sleeves, a scarf, and a hat entered his field of vision. Normal people would have changed into short-sleeved shirts or t-shirts in this kind of weather. If it was allowed in public, most men would choose to go out shirtless. When Su-Yun pointed out the suspicious person to Lin Gu recognized him at a glance. That's right. That was the tame headmaster he personally killed in Japan. Although he was already prepared, Lin Gu still sucked in a breath of cold air when he saw this guy come back from the dead. This was too evil. He didn't expect the evil arts of Nanyang to still exist in today's society. Brother, let me take care of him. Lin Gu believed that he wouldn't fail again. Zuomeyan didn't think so. To deal with this kind of person, even if you burn his entire body, the only ones who will die will be the insects whose souls are imprisoned. We need to find a real way to deal with him. Otherwise, no one can act rashly. Last time in Japan, you were able to succeed because you caught him off guard. But now that we're out in the open, he obviously knows all of us. Doing this again is too risky. Then what should we do? We can't just sit here and wait for death. Lin Gu said. The person in the car in front of the building won't be able to hold on much longer. The windows are closed, and the air isn't circulating. Even if he doesn't die from the heat, he'll suffocate to death from the thin air. We have to stop this from happening as soon as possible. Su-Yun knew that it was time for him to stand up. His target is me. A high-level tame headmaster like him will definitely be able to sense that I was the one who removed the tame head spell he cast on Nego Iguchi in Japan. So the person he wants to take revenge on is me. The one who started the trouble needs to end it. I'll go and meet him personally. Are you crazy? Zuomeyan refuted immediately. You're not really going to do that, are you? Who knows what kind of spell that perverted evil art master will cast on you? Even if you don't care about your life, you should think about us. Su-Yun's intuition told him that the other party didn't seem to want to kill him. but to force him to show up. If the other party wanted to attack him, he could have found an opportunity to cast a tame head spell on him before his identity was exposed. That way, it would be difficult for him to guard against it. However, the other party had chosen this method twice. It gave Su Yun the feeling that he was forcing him to show up. If I don't go and meet him, more innocent people will be dragged into this, Su Yun said. I can't watch innocent people get dragged into unnecessary trouble because of us. Then I'll go with you. Lin Ge saw that Su Yun had made up his mind, so he could only support him unconditionally. Su Yun looked at Lin Ge and smiled. Do you think he'll like someone who killed him once? If you go, you'll only anger him. You won't be able to talk to me calmly. It's too dangerous for you to go alone. Lin Ge didn't agree. Who knows what kind of schemes they have? I'll go, Zhou Meiyan said. I'll go with you. He hasn't seen me before. You won't dislike me, right? Chapter 894. Once Su Yun decided on something, no one could dissuade him. They could only let Su Yun find a hat and a pair of sunglasses, disguise himself as much as possible, and sneak out from the back door. Zhou Meiyan stayed where she was. From here, she could see everything in the coffee shop. If Su Yun was in trouble, she had to make sure she could get there as soon as possible. As for the other things, they were left to Lin Ge, Zui Yeming, and Wang Zhe. They didn't tell Ruan Qingshuang about this. Even if she knew, she would only be anxious. It was better to let her take care of the flowers in the office upstairs with Xia Qiuyu. The sooner they got the qi consolidating grass, the sooner they could give Su Yun hope. Su Yun came out from the back door. His goal was to avoid the guy with the black magic at the door. If he was discovered, the crazy scene from yesterday might happen again. For Su Yun would rather walk a little longer than take the risk. Of course, Su Yun did not choose to walk in from the front door of the coffee shop. Instead, he inquired about the supply channel of the coffee shop, which was the back door. Although the back door said no unauthorized personnel were allowed to enter, Su Yun took out 100 yuan and gave it to the odd job worker at the back door. Then, he walked in without any hindrance. A well-dressed man sat near the glass window. His eyes were fixed on the black car parked in front of Sky Entertainment. He was so focused that he didn't care about the strange clothes he was wearing. He didn't wake up until Su Yun sat in front of him. Su Yun didn't say anything. He just stared at him silently. It wasn't that Su Yun was deliberately mystifying, but he really didn't know how to open his mouth. In all his life, he had never greeted such a terrifying evil art master. Su Yun was even worried that he would be put under the black magic if he opened his mouth. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe Su Yun's feelings at this moment. However, the person sitting across from Su Yun was obviously not relaxed either. His gaze never left Su Yun's line of sight for even a second. The two of them just sat there, neither of them speaking, neither of them even blinking. At this moment, the waiter walked up to Su Yun and asked, "Sir, what would you like to drink?" Su Yun saw that the guy opposite him only had a glass of water in front of him. He carefully said to the waiter, "A bottle of Blue Mountain, thank you." The waiter filled out the form, took the money, and turned to leave. Su Yun and the strange man were still staring at each other. It was as if the two of them had fallen into a battle of consciousness. They both wanted to read something from each other's eyes, but they couldn't see through each other's thoughts at all. "I know. You did everything." When the coffee was served, Su Yun spoke first. He realized that if he didn't speak, the other party, who had been a loner for almost his entire life, would have the patience to waste the whole day with him. As he spoke, Su Yun poured 2 cups of coffee. The other party just glanced at them and still didn't speak. He didn't drink the coffee Su Yun pushed in front of him either. Because in his eyes, since Su Yun could remove his black magic, he was also someone who could perform black magic. "I was the one who ruined your plans first. I'm deeply sorry for that. Although I know you won't forgive someone who ruined your plans, I still want to apologize to you. Su Yun. I just hope that the conflict between us won't involve innocent people. I don't know if you can understand me? These black magic masters were all Nanyang people." Su Yun wasn't sure if he could understand Chinese. The other party still didn't answer, but he finally reacted. He nodded. It seemed that he understood Chinese. After all, a long time ago, Huaxia went to Nanyang. At that time, many Chinese people desperately followed the fleet to that mysterious place in order to make a living. Since then, the Nanyang area could be said to be filled with Huaxia's survival army. It was only natural that he could understand Chinese. Then, Suyan saw from the corner of his eye that the person who had been staying in the black car suddenly opened the door and rushed out. However, he immediately knelt on the ground and took deep breaths of the fresh air outside the car. He didn't have any gasoline in his hand and looked confused and at a loss. Lin Gu and the others, who had been waiting for an opportunity to make a move, instantly surrounded him and subdued him immediately. Judging from this person's reaction, this guy who was tightly dressed seemed to have removed the control over the poor innocent guy. Thank you. Suyan didn't know what to say. He just expressed the first thought that came to his mind. At least the other party wasn't as unreasonable as he thought. That poor innocent guy was saved because of this. Suyan took a sip of coffee and looked at the other party with the greatest sincerity, hoping that the other party would say something. Who are you? Why did you ruin my plan? The other party didn't say anything, but he asked 2 questions. This time, Suyan was really stumped. Suyan didn't know how to explain his identity. He could only answer the second question first. Because I have a favor to ask of the Iguchi-gumi, so I had to help them solve their problem first. So you helped them break my black magic, then found me and killed me. A trace of anger flashed in the eyes of the mysterious black magic master. Although he wasn't really killed, the black bat that had followed him for decades disappeared from his life forever. It was obviously impossible for him to ask for forgiveness. Suyan smiled helplessly. It's already happened. I don't have anything to explain. I just hope that no matter how we deal with the conflict between us, it won't involve innocent people. 3 innocent people have already been hospitalized due to burns. The other party didn't seem to want to listen to Suyan's explanation. He asked a new question. Who taught you how to break free from black magic and track my whereabouts through psychic mediums? Suyan was startled. It was all because of his fortuitous encounter in Nanyang. A few years ago, I was working in Nanyang and was inflicted with a very evil black magic. An old senior helped me. His name is Wuzong. Everything I learned was taught to me by Senior Wuzong. Wuzong. The other party was very agitated. He didn't even care about the shocked gazes of the people around him. He asked loudly, Where did you see him? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. He died in the hands of the Japanese decades ago. How could he still be alive? What was going on here? Suyan was confused. Could it be that the guy sitting in front of him knew Senior Wuzong? Also, his reaction was so agitated. What kind of relationship did he have with Senior Wuzong? I have no reason to lie to you, Suyan said calmly. He could feel that the people around them were looking at them in shock. He lowered his voice. This isn't the place to talk. If you want to know anything, I'll tell you everything I know. However, it's more appropriate to talk somewhere else. The other party's emotions seemed to be stirred up because of Wuzong's name, unable to calm down for a long time. However, in the end, he still realized that there were too many unrelated people here. He did his best to calm himself down, and then said to Suyan, All right, then come with me. Chapter 895. Just like that, Suyan followed an extremely dangerous person for more than 2 kilometers on foot, and arrived at a small hotel called the Warmth Hotel. The room of the tame headmaster looked especially gloomy, and there was an indescribable feeling to it. In short, Suyan started to regret his decision after entering the room. Who knew what kind of things that normal people could not understand were kept in this room? After this person entered the room, he no longer needed clothes to hide the mysterious tattoos on his body. After he took off his hat, scarf, and coat, Suyan understood the disgusting feeling that Lin Gu was talking about. Indeed, a body full of tattoos like this was not something normal people could accept. There were too many disgusting insects tattooed on almost every inch of his body. Other than his face, the only other perfect skin was probably his neck. There were no traces of tattoos on his neck. This was different from what Lin Gu said. Lin Gu said that there was a huge black bat tattoo on his neck. Suyan sucked in a cold breath. Lin Gu only killed a tattoo? The scapegoat bat was already dead, So the tattoo on his neck disappeared. This Nanyang sorcerer in front of him really showed Su Yun what it meant to be inconceivable. You're a smart person. You can definitely see the only weakness on my body now. The person sat down and said to Su Yun, but I advise you not to have that kind of thought. Because everyone in this room is my people. Su Yun's Adam's apple bobbed. He knew that the only weakness the person was talking about was his neck, which was no longer protected by insects. However, Su Yun really did not have the energy to kill him right now. When this guy said that everyone in this room is his people, Su Yun thought of a horror story. It felt like when you were alone in an elevator, and the elevator suddenly stopped. However, the person outside the elevator did not come in. Instead, he muttered to himself, "Why are there so many people in the elevator today?" Goosebumps. I don't have such thoughts. Don't worry, Su Yun. No matter what, I feel that you have a certain connection with Senior Wuzong. I believe that he is a righteous person. You are also. I am different from my father. Su Yun was completely shocked by her words. Su Yun did not come back to his senses for a long time. His mind was filled with the word father that had popped out of the other party's mouth. Wuzong was this guy's father. My name is Wu Tian. I am the only descendant of the Wu family. Su Yun was still in shock. Although this was a good thing for him, he was more or less unable to accept it. It was too bizarre. He even thought he could turn his experiences into a thriller that would sell well all over the country. Now you should know why I chased you all the way to Huaxia. Wu Tian's face was expressionless. His perpetually fixed expression and tattoos made it difficult for others to estimate his age. Because only our Wu family's black magic masters have the ability to neutralize black magic and track down the location of the black magic master through psychic mediums. Su Yun finally understood. He had learned this method of neutralizing black magic from Senior Wuzong. That was why he could track Wu Tian's whereabouts. Wu Tian was not angry that he had been killed once because of this. Instead, he had tracked them all the way to Huaxia, and then tried to force Su Yun to come out and meet him. It was also because he was curious about this matter. Wu Tian could not believe that someone from the Wu family still existed in this world. Senior Wuzong did teach me this, but you said that Senior Wuzong decades ago. Su Yun was even more confused now. Could it be that he had encountered the ghost of a black magic master when he was in a desperate situation in Southeast Asia? This was even more ridiculous than facing a living tame head sorcerer, wasn't it? That's why I wanted to talk to you, Wu Tian said. Because I don't doubt what you said at all. If it wasn't for my father teaching you, you wouldn't have been able to find me after neutralizing my black magic. Of course. I'm also very sure of one thing. My father died decades ago in the hands of the Japanese. That's why I came to Japan for revenge. Phew, this guy admitted that Wuzong was dead, and that Su Yun had learned from Wuzong. However, Wuzong had died decades ago, and Su Yun had only met him a few years ago. Unless he had met a ghost, there was no other explanation. Are you suspecting that I met Senior Wuzong's spirit? No. Wu Tian interrupted Su Yun. If you met my father, that means he's still alive. It definitely couldn't be his soul. No one would be able to see something like a soul. Even the most powerful sorcerer can't see it. Reality is different from movies. Su Yun swallowed his saliva. The more he listened, the more he couldn't understand. Then why did you say your father died decades ago? Because I saw it with my own eyes. Wu Tian said. I saw with my own eyes that the Japanese slit my father's throat and used a bayonet to tear apart every inch of his skin. That's why I hate the Japanese so much. During that war, the ancestors of the Iguchi clan, Oshima clan, and Abe clan all participated in the massacre of our Nanyangwu clan. That's why I came to Japan for revenge. But I didn't expect that just as I was about to carry out my revenge plan, you guys would appear and ruin it. Wu Tian still felt a little stuffy in his chest. It was impossible to say that he didn't hate Su Yun. Su Yun was stunned for a while. The knot in his heart was untied. So it was like this. The Senior Wuzong he saw didn't have these insect tattoos. Sky Shaman pointed at his own neck. Because of this calamity, I believed that you had seen my father. My father was like me in the past. His entire body was protected by the spirit insect. So, I believe that even if the Japanese destroyed every inch of his skin, he could still come back to life like me. That's right, he had indeed come back to life. Su Yun swore that even if such a resurrection spell was put on the stage of a magician, it would still cause him to be so shocked that he wouldn't be able to sleep for 3 days and 3 nights, let alone the fact that it was happening right in front of him. What kind of theory was this? Su Yun might not understand it, but the peak of Nanyang witchcraft was something that people couldn't understand. The senior Wu Zong I saw did not have any tattoos. Su Yun spoke the truth. It was the great spirit insect that protected him. Wu Tian clasped his hands and placed them on his chest as he chanted an incantation that Su Yun couldn't understand. Although Su Yun believed that he wouldn't do anything to him, he still felt a chill run down his spine. To be honest, Su Yun felt that there was something in this room that he couldn't explain. This feeling was very uncomfortable, making every hair on his body tense up. Sky Shaman said, I want those Dongying people to pay with their blood for the sake of revenge. I believe that if you knew about this, you wouldn't stop me. Chapter 896. Sky Shaman, on the other hand, was filled with hatred. All the Japanese deserve it. Anything. Wuzong Senpai doesn't think so. Su Yun said, I understand. I also hate those Japanese, especially their current leader. Not only did they have the cheek to deny history, but they also shamelessly stood up to fight with Hua Xia for the island. They repeatedly challenged our bottom line. But this doesn't mean that all Japanese deserve to die. At least, someone like Iguchi Nagako who can face history and admit her mistakes doesn't deserve to die. Skywood didn't say anything. I also want to get rid of that old dog Ampere, but I can't get close to him, so I can't do anything to him. I can only do what I'm doing now. Su Yun was surprised that he could talk about this with a tame headmaster. I know I can't ask you for anything, but there are some things I still hope you can consider. Skywood didn't seem to want to argue with Su Yun about this issue. His gaze was still deep and colorless. Can you still get in touch with my father? I really want to see him again. When I was 8, I thought he was dead. After so many years, I never thought he was still alive. Sorry. Su Yun shook his head. I only met Wuzong Senpai once in Nanyang. After that, I didn't hear any news about him. We didn't have any contact with each other. If I knew where he was, I would tell you without your request. I just think he should still be in Nanyang. I believe he also wants to see you again. I don't even know how long I've been away from Nanyang. Sky Wu's face showed an expression for the first time. It was a bitter smile. I have too many painful memories in that place. I don't want to stay there and suffer, so I left. After so many years, I've drifted to many countries and done many things that I don't know if they were right or wrong. Su Yun also sat down. Although this place made him feel uncomfortable, he still wanted to listen to the thoughts of the Wu family's last remaining tame headmaster. However, after Su Yun sat down, Sky Shaman didn't continue. He looked up at Su Yun and said, I'm very happy that you came with me and told me about my father. Although I have a lot of hatred for you and the guy who killed me once, I still feel that the hope you give me is enough to offset my hatred for you. Su Yun's back was drenched in cold sweat. If not for his relationship with Senior Wu Zong, he might not have been able to avoid the threat he would face. I just want to give you a piece of advice. Don't ever offend a tame headmaster, Sky Shaman said indifferently. Because the vengeful mentality of a tame headmaster is more serious than any ordinary person. Consider this advice as my thanks to you. I should be the one thanking you, Su Yun said cautiously. This matter could actually be resolved peacefully? Am I dreaming? Su Yun wanted to pinch his thigh to see if he would wake up. Sky Shaman looked at him one last time and said, I don't want anyone to know where I live. I hope you can understand. Then Su Yun felt dizzy. He was shocked. Oh no. But it was too late. Su Yun couldn't control his spiritual power, and fell onto the sofa. After Zuomeyan saw Su Yun leave the coffee shop with that scary guy, she couldn't find any news about Su Yun. Although the person at the entrance of the Sky Entertainment building was no longer a threat, she still couldn't relax. The guy who had been in the sauna for an hour in the car was subdued by Lin Ge. It was as if he had become a different person. He was terrified. When the police arrived, he thought he could finally be saved. However, the unexplainable barrel of gasoline in his car still caused him to be taken away by the police. Obviously, this person was the same as Zhang Feigui yesterday. He didn't know what he had done. He just had a meal with a friend and couldn't remember anything else. When he came back to his senses, he realized that he had almost suffocated in his car. All of this made him feel extremely terrified. And the police couldn't find any connection or conflict between him and Sky Entertainment. After Lin Ge found out that there was no news about Su Yun, he was as nervous as Zhuo Meiyan. They didn't dare tell Ruan Qingshuang about this. They didn't want her to worry. Then Zhuo Meiyan arranged for Zhuo Yeming, Wang Zhe, and Lin Ge to search the entire coffee shop. They couldn't find any clues about Su Yun. 3 hours had passed since the incident. Ruan Qingshuang and Xia Chuyu both noticed that Su Yun wasn't around. Zhuo Meiyan knew that she couldn't hide it anymore. She prepared to tell them everything she had seen. At that moment, the security captain ran over in a panic to report a piece of news. Chairman Su had fainted and was being brought over by a taxi. Lin Ge was the first to run out of the office, and the rest followed closely behind. Su Yun had fainted. This caused their hearts to be in their throats. The taxi driver wanted to scold them for taking so long to bring him out, but Lin Ge grabbed him by the collar. "What's wrong with my brother?" The taxi driver froze. "How would I know? Did he drink too much? He's unconscious in the middle of the day. If someone didn't give me 500 yuan to bring him here, and if he wasn't breathing normally, I wouldn't have dared to take this job." "Who told you to bring him here?" Lin Ge continued to ask. At that moment, Zhuo Yeming and Wang Zhe had already carried Su Yun out of the car. Su Yun was like a person in deep sleep. No matter how Ruan Qingshuang shook and shouted, he didn't respond. The taxi driver was stunned by Lin Ji's questions. "Yeah, who told him to bring him here? Why didn't he remember anything?" I forgot," the taxi driver said in surprise. Lin Ji's frown deepened. "You forgot? Who told you to bring him here? You don't remember? You should at least remember where you got on the taxi, right?" The taxi driver fell into a daze. He felt like he had drunk a bottle of oblivion. He couldn't remember anything about the unconscious passenger in the car. He had no idea who took him to the taxi, or where he got on the taxi. He couldn't remember anything. "I really don't remember. Why don't I remember anything?" The taxi driver panicked. Luckily, he remembered his name and remembered to stop at a red light and continue driving. Lin Ge wanted to ask more, but he was stopped by Zhuo Meiyan. Zhuo Meiyan whispered to Lin Ge, "He's not lying. Now is not the time to pursue this matter. Let's go back and see what's going on with Su Yun." This was because he saw that the taxi's meter showed the number 683. 83. Lin Ge let go of the taxi driver and went back with them. The taxi driver also noticed his meter. He only remembered that he had driven a short distance. How could it only be 680 yuan? He looked at the gas gauge and saw that it was almost empty. Wasn't this too exaggerated? "Hey, you haven't paid yet." The taxi driver opened the door and got out, but he was stopped by the security captain. The security captain glared at him. "You just said that someone gave you 500 yuan. Why are you so nosy? Do you want to earn more?" "But I ran for more than 600 yuan. The taxi driver glared at him. The security captain snorted. "Even if you drove 1,000 yuan, it has nothing to do with us. Hurry up and leave. If you don't blame me for being rude." Chapter 897. When Su Yun opened his eyes, it was already 7:30 the next morning. Ruan Qingshuang and Zhuo Meiyan had stayed up all night, and their eyes were slightly swollen. Su Yun only felt dizzy, as if he had been hit by a stick. However, just as he woke up, it was as if he had slept for too long. His brain had turned into paste, and the throbbing pain in his temples made him feel that he should sleep a little longer. Seeing that Su Yun had finally woken up, Ruan Qingshuang's heart finally settled down. She had been very worried since Su Yun had been sent home by a taxi yesterday. Zhuo Meiyan had asked her brother to personally drive the most prestigious old Chinese doctor in Jibei to take his pulse. However, The old Chinese doctor said that there was nothing wrong with Su Yun. It was just the pulse of an ordinary person sleeping. There was nothing wrong with it. However, Ruan Qingshuang couldn't be at ease. Not to mention Su Yun. Even ordinary people wouldn't sleep so deeply. Even when Zui Yeming and Wang Zhe carried him all the way, he didn't have any reaction at all. The old Chinese doctor was also very puzzled. A person who could sleep like this must have taken at least an entire bottle of Valium. However, he couldn't tell that Su Yun had any symptoms of ataxia. After taking a blood test, everything was normal. Therefore, he concluded that there was nothing wrong with Su Yun. He asked the old Chinese doctor how to wake Su Yun up. The old Chinese doctor said, "When he wakes up, he will naturally wake up. If I can't see anything wrong with him, even if you send him to the hospital in Zongnanhai, they definitely won't be able to see anything wrong with him." The old Chinese doctor wasn't bragging. When he was still in the hospital, there was a long queue of people all over the country begging to be his specialist. Although he was retired now, there were still people who asked him to take a look at their problems. If it weren't for his deep friendship with Zhang Taisui, he wouldn't have personally taken Su Yun's pulse and treated his illness. Because of her relationship with old Taisui Zhang, Zui Meiyan firmly believed that the old doctor would not be vague on this matter. Since he had said so, she could only do so. Wait until Su Yun wakes up, let him sleep enough. Although Zui Meiyan felt that Su Yun might have been bewitched, she had no choice but to wait for the results. However, she made the right choice. Su Yun finally opened his eyes after sleeping for nearly 16 hours. Thank the heavens, it seems that the king of hell really doesn't care about your little life. Zui Meiyan finally relaxed. She hadn't had a sip of water for the entire night. When she opened her mouth to speak, she felt a burst of pain in her throat. Su Yun sat up and looked at the sun that had begun to shine and heat up not long after it rose. How long have I slept? 16 hours. Ruan Qingshuang said worriedly. We were almost scared to death. What happened? Lin Gu also looked at Su Yun expectantly. What kind of demon was the black magic master he had killed? He was worried that Su Yun had been bewitched. He felt uneasy because he was worried that if Su Yun had been bewitched, he wouldn't know who to ask for help. 16 hours. Su Yun twisted his stiff neck. It seems that he had enough time to leave Huaxia and go to Nanyang. Everyone asked in unison, who? After asking this question, everyone immediately had an answer in their hearts. However, if Su Yun didn't say it himself, they wouldn't dare to believe the answer in their hearts. The person you killed, Su Yun said to Lin Gu. Lin Gu was completely convinced. He had finally seen what it meant to come back from the dead. From now on, he would no longer be so dismissive of any bizarre matters that he encountered. This was because he had seen people from another world. Su Yun briefly told everyone about the black magic master, Wu Tian, and the relationship between him and Wu Zong, Wu Tian's father, who had also come back from the dead. He also told everyone about the hatred between Wu Tian and the Japanese. Only then did everyone slowly come to understand the situation. However, Su Yun couldn't remember where he had gone with Wu Tian yesterday. He had completely forgotten about the hotel. Just like the taxi driver, Su Yun couldn't remember where he had seen Wu Tian. Luckily, Wu Tian didn't erase his other memories. So you're saying that you've become friends with that evil guy? Zui Yeming's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Great, his future brother-in-law was really something. He didn't know if there was anyone in the world that he couldn't handle. He could even handle an evil black magic master in Nanyang, and he even had a relationship with his father. TSK, he was really something. Su Yun didn't answer, but he didn't deny it either. No matter what, at least Wu Tian didn't have any ill intentions towards him. He didn't care about the previous conflicts with him, and he didn't come looking for trouble with Lin Gu. That was enough. If they were friends, then so be it. Su Yun didn't want to have such a mysterious and unpredictable enemy. Moreover, his father Wu Zong had saved Su Yun's life in Nanyang. Su Yun owed the Wu family a favor, but that didn't mean that Su Yun regretted saving Iguchi Nagako. Even if he knew that Wu Tian was Wu Zhang's son, he would still think of ways to stop him from doing anything to Iguchi Nagako. Because Iguchi Nagako was a righteous Japanese, not a shameless scoundrel led by that old dog in pay. To be honest, a few days ago, the Japanese hyped up the unusual proximity between the two countries' military. They were simply ignoring the facts and making false accusations. They were simply shameless. The Japanese cabinet led by Impei only knew how to spread rumors, slander, and create hype every day, exaggerating the so-called threat of China, fanning the flames, and pulling the hearts of the stupid neighbors who were eating China's charity, but still wanted the world to be in chaos. Those Vietnamese and Filipino leaders didn't even use their stupid pig brains. During the era of helping Vietnam fight against the US, Hua had given Vietnam a lot of food, weapons, and bullets. In 10 years, the People's Liberation Army of Hua had lost more than 1,100 soldiers in Vietnam, and 4,200 were injured. Now the Vietnamese seem to have forgotten those who had truly helped them, and had become ingrates. As for the Filipino people, they were even more speechless. They were originally America's dogs. Hua had given them $5 billion in benefits, but they didn't get any kind response. Just treat it as feeding a dog. Unfortunately, this dog didn't even know how to wag its tail. Soo-yun really hoped that Wu Tian had cast black magic on that old dog Impei. That way, Japan wouldn't be so stupid again and again. Without the stupid Japanese regime causing trouble in Asia, other countries wouldn't have so many crooked thoughts. People were heart to heart with each other, and so were countries. People had gentlemen and smiles, and so did countries. Hua had been a gentleman for too many years, hoping to use magnanimity to reform these small countries. Unfortunately, the political power of some countries had always been in the hands of idiots and scoundrels. From the looks of it, the people of Hua were still very wise. At least all their leaders were qualified and capable, and not like Japan, who elected a group of idiots to power. What are you thinking about? Why aren't you answering my question? Are you really friends with that black magic master? Zuo patted the back of Soo-yun's hand. He won't cause trouble for us, especially Dove. After all, he slit his neck. Chapter 898. Lin-gu shuddered at the thought of it. Not only did the person he killed come back to life, but he even came looking for him. If it wasn't for Soo-yun's miraculous encounter in Nanyang, he might have been under the influence of Wu Tian's black magic. He might even be drinking gasoline uncontrollably right now. Lin Ji's scalp went numb at the thought. Brother, he erased part of your memory. You don't even remember where he's hiding. Will he really let go of our previous conflict? If he doesn't, I'm afraid I won't be able to come back unscathed. Ruan Qingshuang, who was beside Soo-yun, shook her head with heartache and said softly, "You were unconscious for more than 10 hours, and you still dare to say that you're fine. Don't do such dangerous things in the future. You almost worried me to death." Soo-yun comforted Ruan Qingshuang with a gentle gaze. He seemed to be saying that he was fine now. Then he said to Lin-gu, "If I'm not wrong, he won't waste time staying in Huaxia. He might already be in Nanyang." Zuo didn't say anything. She was searching for something on her tablet. After Soo-yun said that, she placed the flight schedule in front of everyone. Maybe that person really left. When Soo-yun woke up, the flight to Nanyang had just landed. This was definitely not a coincidence. Lin-gu sucked in a cold breath. He was glad that the black magic master didn't hold it against him. Otherwise, he would have a headache. It wasn't a good feeling to live in a state of vigilance every day. As the old saying goes, don't be afraid of a thief stealing, but be afraid of a thief remembering. It was like a primary and secondary school parent meeting. The scariest thing for a naughty child with poor grades wasn't facing his parents who stood in front of him after the meeting. Instead, it was the time when his parents were having a meeting at school, while he could only wait at home to be scolded and beaten. As the saying goes, death wasn't scary. What was scary was waiting for death. If it weren't for those pathetic clowns in the Japanese cabinet, perhaps Wu Tian wouldn't have taken revenge in Japan. When Soo-yun said this, his heart was heavy. Why can't the Japanese government get a normal leader? First there was Koinu Fulichiro, and now there was this old dog Ampere. They were all scoundrels dressed like dogs. Soo-yun felt sorry for the Japanese. If this nation had some outstanding leaders who dared to face history and acknowledge it, they would not be like this. Right now, apart from Japan's strong production capabilities, There was nothing that the Japanese had done that was recognized internationally. Looking at the current Dongying, it was a pitiful country led by a group of shameless scoundrels occupying a pathetic government. I don't know if it's the right time, but I want to tell everyone something, Ruan Qingshuang suddenly said. There's a pot of qi consolidating grass that has sprouted. This was definitely good news for Su Yun. Everyone followed Ruan Qingshuang to her office. Looking at the green leaves that had sprouted in the pot, their hearts were filled with unconcealable excitement and hope. This touch of green was like the color of life. It filled Su Yun with infinite energy. He knew that the more green there was in the pot, the higher the chances of him regaining his strength. Right now, their top priority was no longer the qi consolidating grass, or the threat of the tame headmaster, but Huang Fugua. This person was the key. Without him, there would be no qi consolidating pill. Not to mention Su Yun's medical knowledge. Even if they invited Wu Qiuzi and Yi Lan, the two giants in the medical world, they still wouldn't be able to do it. Brother, there's no time to lose. We should leave as soon as possible, Lin Ge said. Su Yun nodded. Indeed, the most important thing was to find Huang Fugua. Regardless of whether he would help or not, if they couldn't find him, there was no point in talking about the next step. Let's split up and look for people who can help us. Lin Ge nodded. I'm going back to the island now to ask the old man about the situation. Although he and Huang Fugua aren't friends, they have some friendship. Su Yun nodded, but he didn't know who to look for. After all, Huang Fugua was one of the 3 emperors in the underground world. Other than Lu Xuanji and the other old bones, who might give them clues and information, it was difficult to get anything valuable from others. However, Su Yun didn't plan to stay idle. He knew that it wasn't easy to find Huang Fugua, so he had to go to Nanjiang during this time to find Ruan Qingshuang. The last news they had of Ruan Chao was in a casino in Nanjiang. Although Hua Zhongxiong said that Ruan Chao was surrounded and killed, they didn't see the final result. Holding on to the last glimmer of hope, Su Yun decided to go with Ruan Qingshuang personally to find out the truth. Even if it was confirmed that Ruan Chao was really dead, it was necessary to go. Otherwise, Ruan Qingshuang would never be able to resolve this matter. When everyone left Jibei, Zhuo Meiyan smiled bitterly. Although Su Yun had officially become the head of Sky Entertainment Group after the ribbon cutting at the Qingdao Film and Television Plaza, he still needed her to shoulder the responsibility for him in the end. Of course, Su Yun knew Zhuo Meiyan's hard work, but he really didn't have the energy to share the burden of Sky Entertainment. Before leaving, Su Yun wanted to say something, but Zhuo Meiyan pressed 2 fingers on his mouth and said, I didn't do all this to listen to those words that make me feel distant. I can understand everything you do. You don't have to worry about whether you can handle it. There's nothing in Sky Entertainment that Zhuo Meiyan, can't handle. Even if there is, I still have Sister Fengming to help me. What else could Su Yun feel other than gratitude? It was said that having a confidant in life was something that everyone envied. For Su Yun, he was already enough to make everyone jealous. He didn't just have one confidant. Xia Qiuyu helped Su Yun get the seeds of the qi consolidating grass, so she didn't fail her mission. Seeing that Su Yun and the others were about to embark on a new journey, and she couldn't help much, she also proposed to leave. Of course, before Su Yun helped her find out the cause of her father's death, she wouldn't really leave. She just wanted to travel the great mountains and rivers of her motherland by herself. Wasn't it popular to go on a trip as you wish now? Su Yun and the others were very happy for Xia Qiuyu that she had this idea. If she could relax during the journey and get the temperament she wanted, it would be a wonderful thing. After everyone made the decision, they all embarked on their own journeys. Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang drove to the highway to Nanjiang, and Lin Ge went to the airport alone. Xia Qiuyu didn't want to take a plane, nor did she plan to drive. She said she preferred the feeling of taking a train, because that way she could have time to record the scenery along the way. The first stop she wanted to go to was the Yellow Plateau. Chapter 899. After arriving at the airport, Lin Ge checked the flights. If he took a flight out of Jibei, he would have to wait for 15 hours. Now there was a flight to Xinjiang. 8 hours after arriving in Xinjiang, there would be a flight to the Caribbean. Not only did this save time, But Lin Ge could also try his luck and see if he could meet Fangya at Xinjiang Airport. During this period of time, Lin Ge had no time to contact Fangya, especially after he knew that he might be targeted by a taming master. He didn't even dare to pick up Fangya's calls. He was afraid that Fangya would be implicated in his troubles. Therefore, Lin Ge could only suppress his longing and regret. He boarded the plane to Xinjiang. He didn't call Fangya in advance. Lin Ge held his phone and stared at the screen. He didn't know if Fangya was resting at home or on the way to somewhere. Lin Ge felt that sometimes, fate was a wonderful thing. If they were really fated to be together, then he would go back to Xinjiang based on his intuition. Because his intuition told him that he would meet Fangya in Xinjiang. Lin Ge knew very well that it wasn't easy to find Huang Fugua. It might consume a lot of his energy and time. He wanted Fangya to know this. After all, girls all hoped that the man they loved could be by their side. Lin Ge didn't want Fangya to feel bitter and sad when she saw Wei Wei and her boyfriend sticking together. "Hello, sir. The plane is about to take off. Please turn off your phone." Under the kind reminder of the stewardess, Lin Ge immediately turned off his phone and put it in his pocket. Then he gave the stewardess a friendly smile. Ever since Lin Ge and Fangya started to talk about friendship, Lin Ji's attitude towards the stewardess became unprecedentedly friendly. Perhaps this was called love me, love my dog. When the stewardess saw Lin Ge smile at her, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she suddenly realized something and opened her mouth wide. Are you Xinjiang Airlines Fangya's boyfriend? No wonder you look so familiar. Fangya showed me your photo before. I am her colleague and her best friend. My name is Bai Shui. If you need anything, just come to me. Don't be shy. Since you are Fangya's boyfriend, then you are the son-in-law of Xinjiang Airlines. We are all on the same side. Lin Ge blushed at Bai Shui's generosity. Son-in-law. This title made his heart feel warm and fuzzy. From the looks of it, Fangya had already told her good friend about the matter between her and him. How could Lin Ge not feel happy about this? After the plane took off, the stewardess Bai Shui personally brought Lin Ge a cup of coffee. She looked at the time and said to him with a smile, "Are you going to give Fangya a romantic surprise?" Lin Ge didn't understand what she meant. "Don't play dumb," Bai Shui said. Half an hour after our plane landed, Fangya's flight came back. Don't tell me that you don't even know your girlfriend's flight schedule? TSK, this is a very dangerous signal. You have to understand that our Fangya is pursued by many people, especially those new pilots. They are all courting her every day. Lin Ge was both happy and shocked. He was happy because his intuition was right. If he waited a little longer after getting off the plane, he would be able to meet Fangya. He was shocked because there were still many people chasing after Fangya. How could he not think about it? "Sister Bai, thank you so much for this," Lin Ge said. "I really don't know Fangya's flight schedule. I went to Dongying a few days ago. It was really urgent, so I didn't have time to call Fangya to ask about her situation." "That's not right," Bai Shui said. "Then you have to thank me. I gave you such important information. You have to treat me to a meal later." Lin Ge nodded. Of course. I will remember Sister Bai's reminder." Since other passengers needed help, Bai Shui didn't say anything more to Lin Ge. Instead, she turned around and went to do her work. Lin Ji's heart was in a mess. Did he have a love rival? It didn't seem right to say that. After all, although he and Fangya had a good impression of each other, it wasn't to the point where they would never leave each other. Perhaps this was a test for both Lin Ge and Fangya. The reality was like this. Lin Ge wasn't a man who could always stay by a woman's side. If Fangya couldn't accept this situation, Lin Ge would rather let go early. It was better than suffering more pain and suffering in the future. While Lin Ji's mind was wandering, the plane was ready to land at Xinjiang Airport. With Bai Shui's reminder, Lin Ge hurriedly got off the plane and waited for half an hour alone. Many times, Lin Ge felt that time flew by quickly. Especially when he was doing something urgent, he felt that there wasn't enough time. He really wanted time to stop. This time it was different. Lin Ge had never been so eager for time to pass faster, just a little faster. Every time the second hand on the watch shook, Lin Ge felt that it had been a long time. Waiting always felt long. It was so long that it felt like an entire day. In the end, Lin Ge looked at the watch with numb eyes. His thoughts had unknowingly changed to other things. Finding Huang Fuguo was really too important for him. Would Su Yun be so useless for the rest of his life, relying on Huang Fuguo's unparalleled alchemy skills? Lin Ge didn't have much confidence, because he knew that the old man hadn't left the sea where he grew up for a long time. Whether or not he had the ability and connections to find Huang Fuguo was unknown to Lin Ge. But he had no other choice. After all, the three kings had reached the Sky Xian realm. Even the divine mathematician Gu Zueran and the all-knowing man in Jianghu Ma San'er couldn't do it without any clues. Huang Fuguo had disappeared from the underground world for 2 years. During this time, it wasn't that no one wanted to find him. Gu Zueran and Ma San'er had also received such requests, some of which were extremely expensive. But they had no choice. They didn't know, and they couldn't figure it out. It was as if Huang Fuguo had really evaporated from the earth, completely disappearing from the world. However, everyone knew that an expert like Huang Fuguo couldn't have met with any accidents. Because in the underground world, other than one person whose strength was on par with Huang Fuguo, there was no other person who could be his opponent. Only 2 of the 3 kings were left. After Su Bo's death, no one could replace him. The most popular person, Hell King Leng Chun, had also died an unnatural death. As for the cause of death, no one knew. Many people guessed that one of the 2 kings had done it, but no one saw it, and no one dared to confirm this rumor. However, Su Yun and the others were very clear that this matter had nothing to do with the 2 supreme kings of the underground world. Because it was Su Yun who had killed Leng Chun with his own hands. Leng Chun's death had indeed caused quite a stir in the underground world. The remaining 7 kings who were still alive were all shocked by this matter. Lin Ge sank into his own world, his thoughts constantly drifting further and further away. Suddenly, someone patted him on the shoulder. "You really surprised me." Ah. Lin Ge suddenly came back to his senses. He stood up abruptly and looked at Fangya, who was standing in front of him. For a moment he didn't know what to say. "I met Bai Shui just now. She said that you took her flight, and were waiting for me here. I thought she was joking with me," Fangya said generously, "but I thought about it carefully and decided to confirm it. Otherwise, I would have missed you if I left directly." Lin Ge scratched his head. "You must be hungry. I'll treat you to a meal." Fangya stuck out her tongue. "Sure, but don't go to a luxurious place like Xingkai Hotel. It's too extravagant and wasteful." To be honest, Lin Ge was prepared to take Fangya to eat at Xingkai. After all, it didn't cost money to eat there. Since Fangya said so, he couldn't say anything more. "Okay, you pick the place. I'll treat you. Then let's go to Tianfu Sichuan restaurant to eat Sichuan food," Fangya said straightforwardly. Then she asked Lin Ge, "How long are you planning to stay in Xinjiang?" I have a week's rest." Lin Ge looked at his watch. "I'll be leaving in 4 hours. I've already booked the plane ticket." Fangya's face was instantly filled with disappointment. "Where are you going?" At this time, a young pilot in uniform walked over. He ignored Lin Ge and greeted Fangya directly. "Fangya, I want to treat you to a meal. You keep saying that you don't have time. Do you have time now?" For some reason, Lin Ge suddenly had an idea in his mind and he acted on it. He stood up and blocked Fangya behind him. He said to the young and handsome pilot, "I'm sorry. After eating with Fangya, we're going to the Caribbean Sea for a 7-day tour. I'm afraid she really doesn't have time." The young and handsome pilot looked at Fangya with a disappointed face. Fangya didn't say anything. She was already confused by Lin Ge. A 7-day tour of the Caribbean Sea? "I'll take you to see the place where I grew up," Lin Ge said to Fangya seriously. There was no danger this time, so why couldn't he take Fangya with him? He could also let the old man see his girlfriend. Chapter 900. The black Porsche Cayenne rushed over thousands of miles to Nanjiang. Su Yun twisted his slightly stiff neck and made a few cracking sounds of his joints rubbing against each other. He was indeed quite tired. Although Sky Wu's spell made him sleep for a full 16 hours, his body did not get any natural rest. Therefore, when he rushed to Nanjiang, Su-Yun still felt that his true qi and essence blood were in short supply. This was obviously one of the inevitable phenomena after Su-Yun's vital qi was depleted. He did not have the physical and mental strength of the people who practiced martial arts and qi in the underground world, but he did not accept the feeling of being an ordinary person. So the physical exhaustion of many days gradually showed on his expression and body. At this moment, Su-Yun gave the impression of a family member who had just stayed up in the hospital to take care of a seriously ill patient at home. There was no part of his body that did not exude exhaustion and tiredness. But Su-Yun was Su-Yun after all. He was still a member of the Dragon Fury team. Even if he did not have mental strength and physical strength, his perseverance was definitely not something that could be worn down by anything. He believed that he could persevere until he finished dealing with the matters in Nanjiang. Then it would not be too late to have a good sleep. Wan Qingshuang could see Su-Yun's tiredness. She knew very well that he needed to rest, even though it was 7:30 on a summer night, and the sun was just about to set. Wan Qingshuang said gently, "Let's find a place to stay first. It's not too late to do things tomorrow. You're tired and need to rest." "I'm fine," Su-Yun replied casually. "This time is just right. People who run casinos and those in the healthcare industry are the same. Their business hours are when the sun sets. If we don't do anything tonight, then we'll have to wait until tomorrow night. I'm afraid we won't be able to find anyone during the day. Then we'll wait until tomorrow night." Wan Qingshuang was very determined. She did not give Su-Yun any chance to object. "You've been driving for a whole day, you need to rest. I came to Nanjiang with you, not to hear the truth with my own eyes, but I must take good care of you. This is what I promised Meiyan and Dove." Wan Qingshuang had already put it this way. How could she allow Su-Yun to refuse? "Okay, then let's find a place to stay first, and then we'll discuss it." "There's nothing to discuss. You can't go anywhere today. You don't have to do anything. You just have to rest well." Wan Qingshuang had long seen Su-Yun's tiredness. Ever since she met Su-Yun, except for when Su-Yun was seriously injured, she remembered that Su-Yun was always full of energy. She had never seen fatigue on his face. Therefore, she was very sure that Su-Yun needed to rest. He had to rest. After driving for about 10 minutes, Su-Yun drove into a Confucian hotel with a 4-star signboard. Judging from the 4-meter-tall bronze statue of Confucius at the entrance of the hotel, the owner might be a descendant of Confucius. After parking the car, Su-Yun and Wan Qingshuang walked to the front desk to get a room. Su-Yun looked up at the row of room prices on the wall and said, 2 rooms. 1 luxurious standard room." Wan Qingshuang directly interrupted Su-Yun and made the decision. When he heard 1 room, Su-Yun was still a little confused. In any case, Wan Qingshuang had always been reserved. This was also why Su-Yun asked for 2 rooms. The young lady at the front desk received the money fluently and gave them the room cards without any superfluous expression. It was obvious that a man and a woman had come to get a room. If they wanted 2 single rooms, it would make her feel strange. Su-Yun listened. At this time, it was better to obey orders. On the way to the room, Wan Qingshuang suddenly turned around and explained to Su-Yun, "I'm worried that you won't listen to me and will still do what you want to do at night. That's why I only want 1 room. Don't think about going anywhere at night. Be good and sleep." After that, the two had already reached the door of the room. Su-Yun nodded obediently, took out the room card, opened the door, and walked into the room. The room was not bad. It was decorated in Chinese style and had an antique taste. No wonder it was called a Confucian hotel. It was quite unique. There were 2 analects of Confucius calligraphy on the wall in the background of the TV. Wan Qingshuang was obviously surprised by this unique hotel. She did not expect that Nanjiang had nothing to do with Confucius, but there was such a Confucian-themed hotel. Obviously, this kind of hotel was more attractive to foreigners. After all, those modern decorated hotels full of high-tech were not rare in London, Paris, or Los Angeles. However, this kind of antique, Huaxia exclusive, hotel was really rare. Good taste. Su-Yun pouted and looked at the wooden portrait of Confucius carved in the hollow. The owner of this hotel was really quite sophisticated. However, This kind of themed hotel was probably not suitable for ordinary people to book a room. After all, the room's taste was there, but it lacked the kind of ambiguous and charming atmosphere. Generally, men and women who were dating would probably not come to such a hotel. The price was on the high side. It was better to go directly to those ordinary chain hotels. It was cheap and affordable, and the atmosphere was lively. You go take a bath to relax first and then have a good rest. Wan Qingshuang stared at the double bed in the room and said to Suyin a little embarrassedly. She had not been managing Xingkai Hotel in Xinjiang for a day or two. Of course, she knew that the luxury standard rooms were basically double beds. Unless there were 2 men or 2 women, the front desk would ask if they needed a double bedroom. For a man and a woman who booked a room, they would definitely directly book a double bedroom. Suyin nodded and went to wash up first. When people were particularly tired, the feeling of soaking in a hot bath was definitely refreshing. Anyway, he would not go out to do anything today. Suyin of course had to relax his body and mind. Soaking in the steaming hot bath, Suyin closed his eyes in a daze for half an hour. When all the sleepiness in his body was eliminated, he got up and washed up. He wrapped a large bath towel and walked out of the bathroom. What made Suyun's heart warm was that while he was bathing, Wan Qingshuang called the hotel and asked for some supper. Although it was simple, it still made Suyin feel warm in his heart. After soaking in the bath, his body was numb and weak. It was good to eat something to replenish. Moreover, there were 2 cans of beer. You eat something. I'm going to take a bath. When Wan Qingshuang saw Suyin coming out, her face was still a little red. Although there was no longer the initial awkwardness between them, after all, the window paper was still open. You don't want to eat? Suyin asked. Wan Qingshuang shook her head. A woman's figure is more important. Moreover, we ate so much in the afternoon at the highway rest area. I'm not hungry. Then I won't be polite. Suyin was not so particular. He would eat when he was hungry. He did not care about the rule of 3 meals a day. His stomach had already been trained when he was in Dragon's Fury. Not to mention eating a regular diet. Even if he was overeating, it did not matter. He could finish 20 pounds of mutton in 1 meal. He could also grit his teeth and persevere without eating a grain of rice for 3 to 5 days. It was just a midnight snack. Su Yunkai was not worried that he would gain more fat. Chapter 901. Ruan Qingshuang wiped her body clean, wrapped herself in a towel, and walked out of the bathroom while wiping her wet hair. Although Su Yin was already prepared, he was still so shocked by this scene that he couldn't close his mouth for a while. Yes, Ruan Qingshuang was the most exquisite woman Su Yin had ever seen. Perhaps she didn't have Zhuo Meiyan's charm, Chou Yun's arrogance, Yu Marin's breathtaking beauty, Qin Wan'er's pure cuteness, Ling Zhiling's delicate gentleness, and Yi Fala's enchanting charm. However, Su Yin couldn't find a single flaw in her. She was like a perfect piece of ancient jade that made people reluctant to let go. In his life in the Dragon Brigade, Su Yin spent most of his energy on missions and training. Even though he grew up with Yu Marin as childhood sweethearts, in reality, he didn't feel the same way when he met Ruan Qingshuang. At that time, Su Yin had already left the place where he had endured 20 years of hardships. It was the time when he needed someone warm and gentle. Therefore, Su Yun's feelings for Ruan Qingshuang were partly incomprehensible to ordinary people. There was a special kind of respect contained within the adoration. Or perhaps it was Ruan Qingshuang's strength, as well as her selflessness and greatness towards Guogua, that completely conquered Su Yun. Before leaving the army, he had always thought that they were great heroes. They had done a lot of things that outsiders didn't know about. Although they weren't great enough to save the world like Superman, they had killed a lot of terrorist activities and saved a lot of innocent people from hidden dangers. This was something that ordinary people didn't know about, but they had paid the price of their lives to do it. However, after Su Yin met Ruan Qingshuang, he realized that they weren't the only great people in the world. There were also many ordinary people who were silently contributing their greatness. Just like Ruan Qingshuang, originally a woman who persisted in struggling in the city. Her body and life were already riddled with holes, but she still didn't hesitate to help a lonely and pitiful little girl. She still showed her greatness and selflessness without hesitation. There was no reason, no request, and no reward. She only did what her heart's first reaction was. She thought that if Guogua was alone, even the most basic survival would be a severe test for her. Life is our great teacher. It taught Ruan Qingshuang kindness. Ruan Qingshuang used her kindness to save Guogua's originally colorless and bleak life. Just based on this point, how could Suyin not be shocked? Whether a person was great or not didn't depend on whether or not they had accomplished any great deeds, but whether or not they had a heart that could shock others. Ruan Qingshuang had such a heart that shocked Suyin. However, this kind of thing wasn't that great for Ruan Qingshuang herself. She only felt that she did something that kind people would do. She didn't feel that her actions were great. This was the real reason why Suyin fell in love with her. A person who saw great things as easy as lifting a finger could be considered a true great person. This was something that even Suyin couldn't do, because Suyin never saw some of the things he did as simple as that. This didn't mean that Suyin was pretentious. It was just that 99% of the people in the world would be like Suyin, or even worse than Suyin. After all, many of Suyun's tasks were completed perfectly by risking his life. He had the capital to think that he was great. There were too many mediocre people in the world who praised themselves as Lei Feng after helping an old lady cross the road once. There were also too many cadres, leaders, and philanthropists who liked to pretend in front of the media and reporters. They liked their trivial great deeds to be exposed and publicized, but they didn't realize that this made them more vulgar and ordinary. Ordinary people would care about those praises and compliments. Great people only cared about what they did, that was all. The universe was vast. No matter how great a person was, he was just a speck of dust. In World War II, Churchill's conscience was not blinded by anger. Martin Luther King, Jr., the founder of the Black Liberation Movement, and the great leader who saved 400 million Huaxia people from the abyss of suffering, were just specks of dust in this vast universe. Even these great people were like this, let alone me? Suyun's smile was calm and calm. They were all specks of dust, but even specks of dust were great. Ruan Qingshuang was stared at by Suyin for a while. Her cheeks and neck couldn't help but feel a real burning sensation. This feeling was like, how to describe it? It wasn't shy, nor was it nervous. Perhaps it was simply the uncontrollable excitement of liking the person she liked. I'm going to brush my teeth. In order to avoid embarrassment, Suyin found the best excuse at the moment to avoid Ruan Qingshuang's gaze. Only by splashing cold water on his face could he sober up as soon as possible. During this trip to Nanjiang, he must help Ruan Qingshuang find out the truth of the matter. Whether Ruan Chao was alive or dead, there should be a conclusion. He couldn't let Ruan Qingshuang bear this pressure for the rest of her life. If something really happened to her brother, Suyin would never let go of anyone involved in this matter. If the law couldn't give those evildoers the punishment they deserved, he would. After a simple wash, Suyin was much more awake. When he came out again, Ruan Qingshuang had already cleaned up the mess he took care of. Rest early? Ruan Qingshuang mustered up her courage and tried to make herself not nervous. After saying that, she lay down on one side of the double bed. The girl was already so generous. If Suyin didn't have a little tolerance, it would seem pretentious. He also lay on the other side of the bed. The television screen was still broadcasting the news. It was about a group of extremist thugs in the Tibetan area being arrested. Suyin was very clear about how dangerous these dangerous people were. He had participated in such activities to arrest terrorist organizations. Presumably, during this period of time, the Brothers of Dragon's Fury weren't idle. These extremist terrorists must have some unknown transactions and inside stories with specific international countries. These people should be severely punished. Those who betrayed democracy and the country for their own selfish interests didn't deserve any sympathy. This time there must be an expert among the extremists. Suyin heard from Lin Gu that Xiefei's was also active in Tibetan during this period of time. Thinking of this, Suyun's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. In this world, there wasn't only their dragon brigade. There were many people similar to him and Xiefei's. They silently contributed to the country and society, but never received recognition and praise from the public. They didn't care about those worldly things. They just wanted a perfect outcome. In the world we live in, every day changes rapidly. Every day, all kinds of things happen that we don't know about. Crises, conspiracies, negotiations. There are too many things that ordinary people don't participate in, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. It's just that ordinary people don't come into contact with them. Have you participated in this kind of terrorist mission before? Wan Qingshuang couldn't help but ask when she saw Su Yin looking at her seriously. Su Yin nodded. Then there must be a lot of danger. Capturing these guys must have a high price. Wan Qingshuang's curiosity was aroused. As an ordinary person who couldn't be more ordinary in Huaxia, she never had the opportunity to understand these behind-the-scenes matters. But today Su Yin was beside her. Naturally, her curiosity couldn't be controlled. Anyone would be like this. What's the most dangerous thing you've encountered? Su Yin didn't know how to answer. The most dangerous thing he encountered was when the lives of the entire Dragon's Fury brothers fell into the enemy's conspiracy. The price he paid for it was Yinlong's death. This matter would forever be a regret Su Yin would never be able to erase. He didn't want to talk about it. Even if Wan Qingshuang asked, he still didn't want to talk about it. He picked up the remote control and said indifferently, "That's all in the past. There's no point in talking about it." Chapter 902. Su Yin randomly switched through the TV channels. It was just a small thing similar to a USB drive, and he could watch so many TV channels by plugging it into the TV. Huaxia really didn't lack smart people. It was just that too many smart people didn't do proper things. Those who researched these pirated and infringing things were considered to have a conscience. There were also those who didn't have a conscience who were the real bastards. If one were to ask what those brainless bastards had done, what would they have done? Every morning, most of the youtiao that the majority of the working class ate was cooked in the gutter oil that those brainless bastards had invented. Every night, most of the ordinary milk powder that Huaxia's ordinary children drank might have been added with the melamine that those unscrupulous bastards had invented. Su Yin cursed angrily in his mind. Suddenly, the scene on the TV changed, and a familiar image of a female celebrity from Japan appeared on the screen, posing coquettishly. Oh my God, isn't this the goddess Bordeaux Yui? Just as Su Yin hesitated for a moment, there was an ecstatic moaning sound from the TV. This made Su Yin dumbfounded. How could such a passionate Japanese porn star appear on this thing? At this time, not only was Su Yin dumbfounded, but Wan Qingshuang was also completely dumbfounded. She couldn't bear to look at that scene. In shame, Wan Qingshuang pulled the blanket over her eyes. Su Yin finally reacted and hurriedly pressed the power button to turn off the TV. However, that scene left a deep impression in their minds. Sigh, Su Yin let out a long sigh. What anti-pornography and illegal activities, cleaning up the internet, they were all done so comprehensively. Even a portion of online novels were investigated until they couldn't raise their heads. But this kind of thing actually existed. It was really a disgrace to Huaxia's national style. They should strictly crack down on it, and thoroughly destroy the black market that made the web TV sticks. Also, they should catch the smart bastards who made this thing and lock them up for 3 to 5 years, so that they could reflect on it, and not apply the knowledge they learned in school to these messy things. They should contribute more to the country and develop more things that could make the country rich and strong, so that the Americans and the Japanese wouldn't dare to look down on Huaxia. This was good. More than half of the people with real talent either ran to Europe and America to enjoy the fresh air and taste the authentic olive oil, or stayed in Huaxia to study these messy and meaningless things. If these people used their energy to develop their country's science and technology and economic development, Huaxia would definitely be 50 years ahead. After turning off the TV, Su Yin fell into an indescribable feeling. It was as if thousands of little ants were crawling around in his heart, making him feel uncomfortable all over. Wan Qingshuang, who was lying beside him, also felt the same. In this kind of atmosphere, in this kind of occasion, in this kind of world where only the two of them were in, the feelings that she had been struggling to suppress in her heart quickly climbed to the critical point that was about to explode. In the past, Wan Qingshuang had been suppressing her feelings. There were too many reasons. There were too many people around her and too many trivial things that didn't allow her to think about the things and problems between her and Su Yun. Although Ruan Qingshuang didn't have the time, energy, or even the opportunity to think about the things between her and Su Yun, it didn't mean that she didn't have this kind of impulse in her heart. Finally, they came to a world where only the two of them were in. What reason did Ruan Qingshuang have to refuse the power that she longed for in her heart? Thinking about the days that she knew Su Yun, this man brought her everything. Not only did he improve her by leaps and bounds in terms of material things, she was even more grateful for the spiritual comfort and encouragement. It was Su Yun who helped her solve the trouble caused by the hooligans. It was Su Yun who helped her get through the persistence that she once wanted to give up. It was Su Yun who taught her to be strong and to reject the evildoers. It was Su Yun who ignited her hope for life. It was Su Yun who gave her the courage to go home again. And now, Su Yun brought her to Nanjiang without hesitation. He wanted to help her remove the responsibility and burden that had been weighing on her heart for a long time. Su Yun was also grateful to Ruan Qingshuang. If it wasn't for Ruan Qingshuang's appearance, perhaps he wouldn't have been involved in one trouble after another that couldn't be solved. However, he definitely couldn't get rid of his own inner demons, and might still be in deep pain now. What Ruan Qingshuang brought to him was not only a brand new beginning, but also a new life that he had never experienced before. The pain that Su Yun couldn't get rid of had gradually disappeared with his encounter with Ruan Qingshuang on the east side of the river. In the past, Su Yun thought that he was the person who had been through the most hardships in the world, both mentally and physically. However, after he really came into contact with Ruan Qingshuang, he realized that how many ordinary people had been through less hardships than him. Everyone had their own ups and downs. Life wouldn't be smooth sailing. People living in this world would more or less stumble a few times. This was something that no one could avoid. In life, physically, emotionally, academically, and in career. Thinking about it carefully, who dared to say that they had never encountered a mountain that they thought they couldn't climb over? A pain that they couldn't forget? Even Mount Everest could be conquered. What else was there that couldn't be overcome? Everyone had encountered a predicament. Most people had even fallen into a desperate situation. In the end, some people persevered, but some people fell at the foot of the mountain in front of them. This was the difference between a winner and a loser. Even if a strong person was forced into a desperate situation, they could still rely on their strong spiritual power to survive. And a weak person, even if faced with a small river in front of them, would choose to retreat and give up. When we were in a desperate situation, we might as well think about it. We might as well look at the people around us. Perhaps many people were under more pressure than we were, but they were still calm. This kind of person would always be a strong person. A strong person who wouldn't be defeated by any difficulty. At this time, who would have the nerve to wipe their nose in tears and say that they really couldn't endure it anymore? Su Yun, do you think your life has meaning? Although Ruan Qingshuang and Su Yun hadn't spoken, they were thinking about the same thing. That was the meaning that life's hardships brought to them. Yes. Su Yun turned around. Unknowingly, his hand had already wrapped around Ruan Qingshuang's waist. If he hadn't touched Ruan Qingshuang, his answer might have been the complete opposite. Even if he had done many things that were praised by the world, Ruan Qingshuang felt numb all over. Before she met Su Yun, she had never treated herself as a woman. Even if she had Su Yun by her side, she realized that she was also a woman who needed the love of her heart to take care of her. But she had never really asked for this extravagant hope. Now that Su Yun was hugging her so gently, she could feel her soul being comforted. I feel that the greatest meaning of my life is that I insisted on my own choice and left my hometown to meet you, the person who helped the weak. Then the greatest meaning of my life is that I went to Hudong and met you, who didn't know what to do. Su Yun smiled very calmly. Facing Ruan Qingshuang, who suddenly turned around to face him, Su Yun had no reason to hesitate. His body and mind were blank. At this moment, he only wanted to follow his most primitive consciousness and desire to do what any man or woman would do. When Ruan Qingshuang's cold red lips were sealed by two thick and strong lips, she swore that all the bones in her body became completely numb. Su Yun was her biggest support in this life. Without him, Ruan Qingshuang definitely couldn't imagine her future life. Chapter 903. Let nature take its course. This was a common phrase Suyin used to express his feelings, whether it was between a man and a woman, or between brothers. Sometimes, when the feelings reached a certain point, it was inevitable that things would happen. He would try his best to sprint on Ruan Qingshuang, who had opened her heart and accepted him, because none of them wanted to suppress their feelings, nor did they want to restrain their behavior. Just like Su Yun could sacrifice himself for his brothers, he just wanted to spend all his energy on Ruan Qingshuang. Even if this kind of charge of leading thousands of soldiers and horses to besiege the city made Su Yun sweat profusely, he still couldn't get enough of it. To borrow an exaggerated chewing gum advertising slogan, simply can't stop. Of course, it was necessary to complain. How sensitive are the taste buds of those guys who can't stop at all? Why do I feel that it's tasteless after chewing for 3 to 5 minutes? Obviously, many people would say, exaggeration is the most basic technique in advertising. Have you ever seen a thumb-sized beef piece in instant noodles? If it's really like the braised beef noodles on the cover, it won't cost you 5 yuan per barrel, but at least 50 yuan. That's probably the wholesale price. Otherwise, you can be the boss of the instant noodles factory. Ruan Qingshuang found a very good word to describe this feeling of pain and happiness, that is happiness. Born in a mountain village, for so many years, the circle of life and reality made her feel that she would never be able to touch the word happiness. But Su Yun brought her this feeling. Happiness is something that can't be described with words. Everyone's definition of happiness is different. If there are 1,000 harlots in 1,000 people's eyes, then there is a happiness in everyone's heart. Happiness can bring people happiness, but sometimes pain can also bring people happiness. This is a contradictory thing, just like Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang. Most of the time, Ruan Qingshuang was worried about Su Yun, waiting for him, and being absent-minded. But every time she saw him, she was still full of happiness. Even if different girls appeared around Su Yun, Ruan Qingshuang wouldn't blame or resent him. She was satisfied as long as she could see him. The lower the demand, the easier it is to satisfy people. For example, for a family with an annual income of less than 30 to 50,000 yuan, after deducting the expenses and interpersonal relationship costs, there is probably not much left. If you can buy a small F-egg-type car, you will feel great driving it out. But for a peripheral woman who can earn 30 to 50,000 yuan by sleeping with a man, even if you give her a BMW Z4 or an Audi TT, she will still not be satisfied and will not feel happy. Only by driving a Maserati can they get the vanity satisfaction of the soul. After making love, Su Yun was already sweating like rain. Ruan Qingshuang was also dripping with sweat. The two went from the bed to the bathroom. Even when they were walking, they were reluctant to leave each other's side. Finally, the warm bath made the two of them calm down. After the shower, Ruan Qingshuang's face was completely covered with red, and there was no trace of her original skin color. The two of them didn't say anything and just slept in each other's arms. No one could disturb them now and feel the happiness between each other. The night in Nanjiang was extraordinarily calm, but at this moment, on the flight of Xinjiang Airlines flying overseas, it was the complete opposite. Once the plane encountered strong clear air turbulence, the plane could avoid thunderstorms, but if it encountered clear air turbulence, the plane would have to resign itself to fate. Fangya felt that this trip with Lin Ge was really worth it. She was on a plane for the first time as a passenger, and she actually encountered clear air turbulence that she had never encountered before. At first, the plane was only slightly bumpy. Generally, the passengers who flew here and there often were prepared. After all, who hasn't encountered turbulence a few times? But in the following time, everyone began to lose their color. After all, Ma Heng's incident had not been over for long, and the continuous news reports were still vivid in their minds. Even a brave person like Lin Ge couldn't help but frown. If he was alone on this plane, it would be fine. At most, he would curse a few times. The damn plane was shaking so hard that he couldn't even write a will. But this time was different. Fangya was next to him, and he was the one who invited her to come with him. If something happened to her, Lin Ge simply didn't save himself and directly fell to his death. The plane was like a drunken boar who was seriously riding on the clouds. It either trembled as it ascended, or suddenly descended. The feeling of free fall for more than 5 or 6 seconds in a row directly made the entire plane dead silent. At this time, a woman in the front row of Lin Gu, who was probably riding a plane for the first time, finally couldn't control her emotions. Whenever the plane suddenly fell, she would scream miserably and sorrowfully. She was the only one on the plane who was screaming. Everyone was silent and didn't dare to say a word, but their hearts were probably in their throats. Who knew if this plane could withstand the torment? What if the wings were broken? Wouldn't they fall directly into hell like the angel Lucifer whose wings were broken? After all, Fangya was a professional. While controlling her suffocation and vomiting due to the sudden rise of the plane, she comforted the woman in the front row. "Big sister, don't panic. We will definitely be fine. You hold on. The plane will soon pass through the turbulence." Before he could finish his sentence, the plane actually made a 360-degree turn. If it weren't for the seat belts, the people on the plane would have fallen everywhere, right? Although no one was thrown out, the tumbling internal organs made a considerable number of people unable to control themselves. They vomited all over themselves. It was estimated that after this flight, there would be another group of people who were afraid of flying in the world. Although the plane was the least likely means of transportation to have an accident, once an accident happened, there was basically no one left alive. This was why most people who often flew would have a phobia of flying. The feeling of counting the seconds on the plane was absolutely uncomfortable. Finally, after 15 minutes of hellish torture, the plane slowly stabilized. The crew sent good news. They had passed through the turbulence, and everything was over. They asked everyone not to panic. Only then did Lin Gu wipe away the cold sweat on his forehead. He was really scared out of his wits. Everything calmed down. When he looked at Fangya again, his feelings were greatly different. It was so dangerous just now, but she was still able to divert her attention to comfort others. After all, even the stewardess on duty had no time to care about others at this moment. The passengers in the entire plane seemed to have walked around the palace of the King of Hell. Many people couldn't help but shed tears of fear. Perhaps at that moment, most people didn't think of themselves, but other people they loved. The important people in their lives made them feel so reluctant. Many adults silently wiped the tears from the corners of their eyes. Perhaps they finally didn't have to worry about leaving their children and being misunderstood by their children that they didn't want them anymore. Human beings were the most emotional animals in the world. Whether a kind person or a despicable person, at the moment of life and death, they would still realize their own good side. Lin Gu looked at Fangya with a smile. If it weren't for the woman in the front row who kept turning back and thanking him, Lin Gu really wanted to pull her over and kiss her. There was no reason. He just wanted to do so, that was all. However, the eyes of outsiders still stopped Lin Gu from doing what he wanted to do. Chapter 904. Although Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang knew very well that illegal businesses like casinos and chicken coops wouldn't be open for business during the day, they still followed the address that Hua Zhongxiong had given them. In less than a morning's time, they easily found the place. According to Hua Zhongxiong's description, it was a place with a video screening room, and there was a hidden gambling place inside. Of course, that was a few years ago. In today's society, even the most backward places wouldn't have a video screening room, right? After all, the speed of social development was advancing by leaps and bounds. Even internet cafes had been declining for many years. Other than large clubs, a considerable number of them were half dead, not to mention video screening rooms, which had long been extinct. Now in front of Su Yun was a tea house. Ruan Qingshuang couldn't help but frown. We didn't find the wrong place. Could that person have remembered wrongly? There's no video screening room. Isn't this clearly a tea house? Should we call again to ask and confirm? No need to ask, Su Yun said. Sister Shuang, casinos are places where sheep's head is hung but dog meat is sold. It's just that a few years ago, sheep's head was hung here, and now it's a goat's head. But the essence hasn't changed. It's still selling dog meat. Hua Zhongxiong even suffered from depression because of this incident. I believe that he definitely didn't remember the wrong place. Gambling in a tea house? Ruan Qingshuang was a little confused. She had never been to a tea house before, but she subconsciously thought that it was a place where scholars and refined scholars sat together to drink tea and chat. The people drinking tea should be writers or painters. Everyone gathered together to talk about creation and how to use works to criticize reality or transmit positive energy. How could it be a casino? Su-yin shrugged. How many tea houses nowadays didn't have a few hidden doors and a few mahjong tables? Otherwise, who would come to drink tea? Scholars and refined scholars? There were a lot of high-end private clubs. How could a small tea house on the street attract people who thought they were virtuous and virtuous? This wasn't derogatory or sarcastic. If literary people didn't think highly of themselves, then they wouldn't have the capital to write good works that would be immortalized for generations to come. Of course, this was referring to a real literary scholar, not a literary loafer who was unsatisfied with half a bottle. Perhaps after this place was changed into a tea house, gamblers would no longer be prevented from coming here to gamble during the day. However, the day was not the right time. Su-yin was not stupid enough to cause trouble for himself for no reason. After confirming the location, he left with Ruan Qingshuang for the time being. Although Nanjiang's specialty snacks were well known, they were not to the liking of Ruan Qingshuang. Su-yin ate with relish. He could now list out 100 examples of the delicacies from all over Huaxia. As for eating, anything that could fill one's stomach shouldn't be wasted. For someone like Su-yin who had been starving in the mountains, there was no food that was not appetizing. He had swallowed snake gall, chewed bean worms, and when he was hungry, he could even dig out an ant's nest and suffocate it in a water tank to eat. Of course, those harsh survival training in the wild had long been a thing of the past, but it had created Su-yin's frugal habit. Only people who had been starved knew the preciousness of food. Seeing that Ruan Qingshuang had some things that were really difficult to eat, Su-yin didn't hesitate and directly helped her solve it. Soon he was full. Ruan Qingshuang had thoughts, but she didn't have much appetite. However, she couldn't persuade Su-yin. She still bought a baiji bun on the way back to the hotel. When the sun finally set, the street lights in Nanjiang City had been turned on. The traffic on the road was not sparse. For a city like this that relied on coal mining, the streets were full of luxury cars. It was enough to hold a car exhibition in a small county, especially those kinds of large SUVs, such as the Land Rover Range Rover, BMW X5, Grand Cherokee, and the Porsche Cayenne that Su-yin drove. They were not rare on this big road. From time to time, one could see the Barbassa's six-wheeled off-road that was close to 10 million. Let's put it this way. A luxury car that cost 5 million didn't have a sense of superiority here. The A8 and 7 Series or Mercedes-Benz S-Class were just like the A6, 5 Series, and E-Class in a small county. They were really common. Ferraris and Lamborghinis were rare. Because the road conditions in this city were quite bad and bumpy, off-road vehicles were paid attention to. In contrast, supercars were much rarer. Only a few people who weren't afraid of playing with a broken chassis would get a bull to run on the ground. It was a waste of natural resources. When Su-yin drove to the tea house, there were already many cars parked outside the tea house. From the imported Audi Q7 to the domestic Changfeng Cheetah, there were cars of all prices. Based on this, Su-yin could be sure that this was a place that was pretending to be a sheep's head but selling dog meat. How many cultured people would drive a Changfeng Cheetah to drink tea? After all, the older generation didn't have driver's licenses yet. Cultured people generally didn't know how to drive. It wasn't like now, where the streets were full of road killers. If the line was not busy, then the lane was randomly changed. Sometimes, he really felt that the kind of adults who brought children to run red lights were not good people. You already had no quality and were incurable, but you shouldn't harm the children, right? Quality had to be grasped from the beginning. Stopping at a red light was the most basic thing. The Huaxia style of crossing the road had long been ridiculed by other countries internationally more than once. In the eyes of some pedestrians, the traffic lights were fart. Some drivers were the same. The traffic lights without cameras were just decorations. What was the harm in running them? Anyway, it wouldn't deduct points. Su-yin and Ruan Qingshuang got out of the car, locked the car, and walked straight into the tea house. The lady boss of the tea house greeted them with a smile. "Oh, the two of you are here again. Please come in. What would you like to drink? The people who opened the door to do business greeted everyone with a smile. People who had never seen them before were like regulars. There was no pressure at all to greet them. Although she called Ruan Qingshuang a beauty with a smile on the surface, she didn't know how many times she had cursed a fox spirit in her heart. If a woman who came to gamble with a man wasn't a fox spirit, what was she? She was a man's plaything. We are not here to drink tea. We are here to find someone. Ruan Qingshuang didn't have so many tricks up her sleeves. She went straight to the point. Su Yun knew that she was anxious, so he couldn't say anything. After all, she was looking for news of her brother. Anyone would be anxious. When she heard that they weren't here to spend money, but to find someone, the lady boss's face changed. Could it be that a customer's wife came to catch them gambling? Find someone? Miss, you have come to the wrong place. I am the only woman here. Who else can there be? Lady boss, you don't have to pretend. We are all people in society. Who doesn't know about this little trick? Su Yun smiled slightly. But don't worry. We are not here to trouble your customers. We are just here to inquire about a person. Although the lady boss's face eased a little, she was still a little unhappy. Go to the police station to inquire about a person. What's the use of looking for an old woman like me? Go find someone who checks household registration. Go, go, go. I am busy here. I don't have time to waste with you. I won't see you out. Before they asked anything, the lady boss was in a hurry to see them out. Obviously, she was afraid of delaying her business, and was too lazy to talk nonsense with them. However, Ruan Qingshuang didn't give up. She took out a photo of Ruan Chao from her pocket, and stood in front of the lady boss. I just want to ask you one thing. Have you seen this person? 18 or 19, thin and tall. Chapter 905. As soon as the lady boss raised her voice, two sturdy young men with dragon and tiger tattoos came out from a hidden door at the side. Both of them glared at Su Yun fiercely. After all, Ruan Qingshuang was a beautiful woman. Even if the other party was a hooligan, they still had a tender heart for the fairer sex. They could only vent their vicious attitude on Su Yun. Su Yun did not care about this. He still smiled and said to the lady boss, "We're just here to inquire about a person. There's no need to be at daggers drawn. Lady boss, we're all business people. We welcome people with a smile. Amiability brings wealth. There's no need to make a big fuss. This is not a lucky thing. I don't think you're here to make money for me. Who are you? Let me tell you, if you want to check my shop, then take out a written search order. Otherwise, don't even think about it." The lady boss was so nervous. She completely thought that Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang were civil servants who came for a surprise inspection. "Let me tell you, my brother-in-law is from the procuratorate. You'd better know your place. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding." Su Yun explained, "We're definitely not here to do any inspection. I know about your tea house's business. Why should I interfere in something that has nothing to do with me? I just want to inquire about a person. There's absolutely no other meaning." As soon as Su Yun's voice fell, the real boss of the tea house could not help but reveal himself. He finally walked out from the back room. "Friend, my place is just a place to play cards and drink tea. My wife also said that if you want to find someone, it's best to go to the police station. The people there are more useful than us. We're just ordinary people. I'm afraid we can't help you much. Boss, I'm an acquaintance. When you were still operating the video hall, I often came here to play." Su Yun's words were obviously a lie. When had he not come to Nanjiang to gamble? However, the tea house boss was stunned. He looked at Su Yun carefully and frowned. "Friend, you're too good at joking. Let's not talk about the old acquaintances here. I even know those who have only been here once. In my line of work, if I'm not good at recognizing people, I might fail miserably one day. But I really don't have any impression of you at all." Su Yun could be sure of one thing. The boss of this place had not changed. The guy who opened the tea house was still the person who opened the video hall. Moreover, this guy was quite confident in his ability to remember people. It could even be said to the point of conceit. How could such a cautious and knowledgeable person forget the incident that happened in front of his own shop a few years ago? Suyin did not continue to argue with the tea house boss about whether he was an old acquaintance or not. He directly took the photo in Ruan Qingshuang's hand and placed it in front of the tea house boss. He was familiar with all the local ruffians in Nanjiang. After so many years in Nanjiang, there were not many people who dared to fight with his subordinate, Diaohu. He could not help but sigh. They did not come with good intentions. Seeing that Diaohu was defeated in one move, how could the golden leopard be willing? Diaohu was his sworn brother who had gone through fire and water with him. He could not just watch Diaohu be beaten down. Suyin knocked his knee out, but before he could land, the golden leopard pounced on him from behind like a hungry dog and strangled him by the neck. Suyin was a little depressed. If it was a normal day, how could he not react? But now that he had lost his true qi, he was no longer the Yanlong of the past. Although he still had his strength, his reaction speed was not as fast as before. The golden leopard strangled Suyun's neck and immediately roared, "Brother Hu, get up and beat him up." He was quite confident in his own strength. Not many people who had been restrained by him from behind had been able to turn the tables around. As long as Diaohu got up and gave this kid a few punches, he could guarantee that he would obediently kneel down and kowtow to them. This was an opportunity. Diaohu endured the burning pain in his lower abdomen and stood up with difficulty. He must make this kid kneel down and call him master. But who would have thought that Suyin would suddenly take a horse stance and use his lower body to perform a back throw? The golden leopard that was strangling him was directly thrown into the air by Suyun's back throw. On the other side, Diaohu had just stood up in pain when the golden leopard's body landed heavily on the ground. A third of his teeth were knocked out by the tile floor, and he was bleeding profusely. This guy was too ruthless. The tea house owner and lady boss were dumbfounded. Diaohu and the golden leopard could fight. They were famous in Nanjiang for being able to fight. They had never been afraid of anyone in a one-on-one fight, but today they were defeated in just a few moves. How could this be? Could it be that these two brats had taken too many drugs and could not use their strength? Looking at the two guys whose bones were broken from the fall, Suyin clapped his hands in disdain and said, "If you haven't had enough, then continue. Don't be like a girl and dawdle." Chapter 906. How could a woman like the lady boss tolerate Diaohu behaving so atrociously in her territory and killing so many people? She couldn't possibly think as thoroughly as her man and the golden leopard. When she saw Diaohu, whom she had always thought highly of, being thrown to the ground, her mind went blank for a moment. Then she began to howl loudly, "Murder! Murder!" The tea house owner's heart skipped a beat and his face changed. This woman's mouth should be sewn up. The kid in front of him was obviously trained. Maybe he was like those FBI agents in the movies. Of course, he was trained by the relevant departments in Huaxia. Could it be that the investigation from a few years ago was still ongoing? He had spent a lot of money to pull strings for that matter. The leaders of Nanjiang and the police had promised him to turn a blind eye to it. Moreover, he was not the one who ended the matter, nor was he one of his people. In the end, this matter had almost become a supernatural incident. He could not explain it to anyone clearly. Originally, no one had caused trouble for him all these years. He thought that he could put this matter to the back of his mind and forget about it forever. However, today, someone had come knocking on his door. The kid that he had ordered his men to kill at the entrance of his casino back, then was dragged away. It had nothing to do with him. He just wanted to teach the kid a lesson. He did not want to kill him at all. Who knew that the kid would disappear without a trace? Sometimes people really believed in fate. As soon as the lady boss shouted, Diaohu and Jinbao's underlings rushed out with machetes in their hands. Although this tea house didn't look big, it was a completely different world inside. There was a casino that was a few hundred square meters in size, and there were also a dozen small rooms. If this scale was placed in Las Vegas, it would be *T. However, in Huaxia, where gambling was prohibited, the scale was not small. If he did not have a dozen men to maintain order and security, this business would not be easy to do. After all, although he had prestige in Nanjiang, he was not someone who could cover the sky with one hand. Over the years, there were many talents in Nanjiang, but there had never been an ambitious person who could unify the world. Most of them were afraid of each other, but did not think much of each other. Under such circumstances, whether or not you had enough men who could fight was the capital to establish yourself. If the owner of the tea house didn't have Diao Hu Jinbao and a dozen of his subordinates, he wouldn't have been able to stand being harassed by others. The dozen or so young men were all strong. Their eyes were staring at Su Yun, as if they were afraid that he didn't know that they wanted to eat him alive. With the support of his brothers, Golden Leopard regained his courage. He ordered his men to help Diao Hu up while thinking about how to take advantage of the chaotic battle. Golden Leopard had fought many times and was clearly a ruthless veteran. He waved his hand and shouted, "Go!" As long as Su Yun was surrounded by his subordinates, he would directly take out his knife and stab him twice. This matter was simple. In the eyes of the Golden Leopard, no matter how powerful a person was, they would not be able to withstand 2 stabs from a knife. As long as there was blood, even a hero's legs would go soft. Of course, this was just Golden Leopard's understanding. After all, he had never seen any heroes. The people he had stabbed with a knife were just a bunch of hooligans. Their legs would go weak at the sight of blood, which meant that they were not even qualified to be a hooligan. The real hooligans were all born from the edge of the blade. Seeing that the dozen or so subordinates were about to bury Su Yun in the sea of people, Golden Leopard sneered and took out a sharp dagger from his waist. The last hit job had the lowest risk and was also the most popular job. In the past, Diao Hu liked to do this job. Now that Diao Hu was crippled, he naturally had to take over. Looking at the shiny silver machetes, Wan Qingshuang was completely at a loss. She didn't know how to deal with it. She didn't know how Su Yun could solve the problem in front of her. Other than running, she couldn't think of any other way. Then there was a crash. A custom-made QBQ extendable baton had appeared in Su Yun's hand out of nowhere. He did not care about the shiny silver machetes in the hands of these people at all. He raised the baton and swung it down, smashing the wrists of the people in front of him with lightning speed. This was an item that was used by the American police. Not to mention Su Yun. Even if Wan Qingshuang used all her strength to smash it, the steel head would be enough to break the wrists of these people. Then there were a few screams, accompanied by the clanging sound of the machetes falling to the ground. Then Su Yun didn't stay idle. He rushed into the crowd with the baton, and every move he made was aimed at the vital points of these people. Su Yun's ferocious momentum had obviously scared half of the people. This group of brats who usually swaggered around in fights had never seen such a battle before. Before they could even react, they had already been knocked to the ground by Su Yun's rod. 2 minutes later, Golden Leopard, who was waiting for the last hit, was really convinced and admitted defeat. He had lived for so long, but he had never seen such a fierce person before. He wasn't human at all. He didn't hesitate at all. All of his attacks were aimed at the vital points of the people's bodies, but they weren't fatal. More than 10 people who were swaggering with machetes were all lying on the ground in just 2 minutes. Because the commotion was too big, the people who were gambling inside didn't dare to take the risk and stay. It was obvious that there were people who wanted to destroy the place, or there was a sudden inspection. In 2 minutes, the people inside also came out of the secret door. Not a single person was left. At this time, this tea house that was selling dog meat under sheep's head could be said to be empty. Brother, can you listen to my explanation? The tea house owner finally spoke in a trembling voice. What do you want to ask? I will tell you everything I know. The activity just now was too fierce. Su Yun put the baton behind his back. He massaged his right shoulder and said, "Wouldn't it have been better if you did this earlier? I wouldn't have had to spend so much effort on you. In this case, let's talk inside." The tea house owner invited carefully. Su Yun glanced at the lady boss and Golden Leopard, and finally fixed his gaze on the tea house owner's face. No need. It's better to be straightforward here. The tea house owner sighed and drooped his head dispiritedly. The little brother in the photo did come to our place in the past. He and another young man. I know the purpose of their visit, and I know that they have money. Their coal boss told me about this. They each took 100,000 to cover their losses. Su Yun frowned. How do you know about this? Because their boss knew that they didn't have enough money and still needed it. So he asked me to set a trap for them. He let them lose all their money to me. And then I can keep 100,000. The tea house owner said. I was also blinded by greed. I just didn't expect them to come back and rob after they lost the money. So you hacked him to death? Su Yun sneered. He didn't expect there to be a conspiracy. The coal boss of the private mine was really a good-for-nothing. He found someone to cover for him, and even wanted to extort the money back. This person was too ruthless. The tea house owner's face turned bitter when he heard this. I really didn't. I did bring people to hack them, but I didn't dare to hack them to death. It was someone else who took him away. I suspect it was the coal boss. But he refused to admit it. In the end, this matter fell on my head. I spent a lot of money to settle it. That bastard didn't admit it, and even asked me for money. This matter couldn't be separated from the coal boss. Su Yun continued coldly. Where is he? After that incident, I cut ties with him. I don't have any contact with him now. His mine was sealed. Later on, it seems like he opened another mine, but I really don't know. The tea house owner smiled bitterly. He really wasn't lying. Su Yun's lips curled up slightly. He couldn't find him, but he knew who could. Jin Kwang. Chapter 907. It was a pity that Su Yun did not stay idle before he left. He gave the tea house owner a huge welcome gift and burned down the place. Who would dare to call the police because these were gambling devices? Wasn't that just asking for trouble? Sigh, what kind of shameful thing did he do to deserve such a huge retribution? The lady boss of the tea house almost coughed out her lungs from crying. This was her and her man's lifetime of hard work. In Nanjiang, when had they ever suffered such a huge humiliation? And all of this was happening right in front of her eyes. What was even more infuriating was that her man didn't even say a word. He just let her smash the place into smithereens by herself, and even lit up the fire with a cigarette. Looking at the black Kian that leisurely drove away, the lady boss of the tea house angrily punched her man with her soft fist. Are you still a man? A kid who doesn't even have a name is riding on your neck and peeing, and you're still indifferent. Are you trying to throw away the face of our 18 generations of ancestors? What do you know? The owner of the tea house no longer suppressed the anger in his heart. He angrily scolded and pushed his wife to the side. The lady boss staggered and fell to the ground, but he didn't feel sorry for her at all. He still scolded. You have long hair and short eyes. That kid is not someone we can afford to offend. It's all thanks to my ancestors that I'm standing here alive today. Jin Bao had never seen the boss so angry. He stood at the side and did not dare to interrupt. Indeed, that guy was definitely not an ordinary person. They could not afford to offend him. He alone caused so much trouble for them. In Nanjiang, there was probably no force that could do that. But the other party was just one person. He beat them up right in front of their eyes until they cried for their parents. Then he patted his butt and left. They didn't even dare to make a sound. Now Jin Bao's mind was filled with thoughts of how to bring Diao Hu and this group of brothers to the hospital for treatment. This was the most tragic battle he had experienced in the past 20 to 30 years. Fortunately, the other party did not hold it against him in the end. Otherwise, he would probably be like Diao Hu, lying on the ground without the strength to stand up. At this moment, no one knew that Diao Hu's spine had been crushed by the golden leopard. Retribution, retribution. We won't be able to survive in Nanjiang. The lady boss squatted on the ground and wailed as she slapped the ground with both hands. Because he didn't dare to call the police, the tea house owner could only ask Jin Bao to help him put out the fire with a fire extinguisher. The remaining small sparks were also put out by Jin Bao with his clothes. Then he found a car and rushed to the hospital with his injured brothers. The owner of the tea house just sat alone in front of the door, lowering his head and smoking. How could he not be worried? He had to make plans for his next step. After returning to the hotel, Su Yun immediately contacted Jin Kwang. After receiving a call from Chairman Su, this big explosion in Nanjiang was so excited that he spoke incoherently. Chairman Su, what instructions do you have? Have you returned to Xinjiang? Ha ha ha, it's not too late now. Do you want to come over and have a drink with me? Director Jean, I am in Nanjiang. Su Yun's words made Jean Kuang even more confused. Nanjiang? Chairman Su, why did you go to Nanjiang? Io, why didn't you tell me about this in advance? I have to do my part as a host. Jean Kuang's brain was spinning rapidly. Have you stayed? How about this? I will immediately call my people to pick you up. I will arrange everything else. I will rush back tonight. Su Yun was really not used to this explosion of enthusiasm. Director Jean, please don't trouble yourself. I have already stayed. I just want to ask you about someone. Tell me, as long as it's someone in Nanjiang, I am confident that I can find him. Jean Kuang was full of confidence. His connections in Nanjiang were definitely top-notch. He wasn't bragging. As long as it was someone with a reputation in Nanjiang, he knew them clearly. The person that Chairman Su wanted to find must be someone of status. He was sure of this. It's not that hard to find. You definitely know this person. It's the coal boss of Ruan Chao that I asked you to find some time ago. Su Yun said. I want to ask him about something. Jean Kuang said, oh, in his heart, but his mouth didn't stop. That's easy. I called him today. He is out of town and not in Nanjiang now. After pausing for a while, Jean Kuang continued, Chairman Su, how about this? I will contact him now and ask him to rush back immediately. He will meet you immediately when he reaches Nanjiang. I will rush back immediately too. Su Yun frowned. He felt that Jean Kuang wasn't telling the truth. But now that he had a favor to ask of him, Su Yun still smiled. There's no rush. I will have to trouble Director Jean with this matter. I am sincere in becoming friends with Chairman Su. Ha ha ha, rest assured, Chairman Su. Jean Kuang valued Su Yun too much. Su Yun was someone that he needed to achieve glory. After hanging up the phone, Wan Qingshuang asked curiously, how was it? Jean Kuang didn't tell me directly. It seems that he wants to arrange a meeting personally to do me a favor. Su Yun. These old foxes have been in society for many years. Each one of them is more shrewd than the other. They have a lot of wicked ideas in their hearts. Since that's the case, we can only wait for a while. Okay. Wan Qingshuang nodded. She really didn't mind waiting for another day or two. To her, she was very close to the truth. This was a great achievement. I have prepared the hot water for you. Go and soak in it. Su Yun unexpectedly said. Do you want to do it together? Together? Wan Qingshuang's cheeks instantly turned red. That bright red spread to her ears and neck. After last night, the relationship between the two of them had undergone a qualitative change. Neither of them could deny this. But Su Yun was too shameless. How could he have the nerve to say that? But Wan Qingshuang shockingly realized that she actually admitted it shamelessly. God, it was too scary. Men and women who fell in love could really accept any kind of request. Jean Kuang was not idle either. He was not in the mood to flirt with his goddaughter. He immediately called He Dongfeng. He Dongfeng was the boss who recruited Ruan Chao to work in the coal mine. He and Jean Kuang could be considered friends in the jade and antique field. Although the two of them were not life and death friends, they were definitely familiar enough. Dongfeng, do you still remember the person I told you about before? The one who asked about your mine. Jean Kuang heard the call connect and went straight to the point. He Dongfeng looked. It was already 11 o'clock. Jean Kuang called just for this? That was too much of a scam. I remember. Didn't I tell you? That guy took the money to cover for me and ran away. I don't know where he is. You told me the truth, right? Jean Kuang said. Let me tell you. That person is the new president of the Three Lotus Society. He is now in Nanjiang and called me to ask about you. Chapter 908. Of course not. Jean Kuang said. It's the middle of the night, and I don't know what's going on. I heard that you're out of town, and can only go back to see him tomorrow. I'll rush back to Nanjiang tomorrow and go see him with you in the afternoon. He Dongfeng was startled. Brother Jean, why are you so concerned about that guy's matter? Why should I see him? I have nothing to say, and I don't owe him anything. I don't plan to go to Taiwan to do any business. I won't see him. You can find a reason to reject me. I don't need to. I've said everything I can. Dongfeng, you can't hide your intentions from me. Jin Kuang said. Let me ask you. What else are you hiding from me? Otherwise, why would he go all the way to Nanjiang to talk to you? If you can't even trust me, then no one can trust you. Is there anything I don't know? Nothing, he Dongfeng said firmly. What can I not tell you? Brother Jin, we've known each other for a long time. Don't you trust me on this? I really have nothing to say. It's been so many years. I'm really afraid that he's investigating the mine accident again. To be honest, I'm a little nervous. Jin Kuang heaved a sigh of relief. Don't worry. They definitely don't have the time to investigate the cause of your mine accident. This matter has long been forgotten. Just listen to me and wait for me at home. I'll contact you as soon as I reach Nanjiang. Let's meet and treat it as making friends. Give me some face. Maybe he's just asking about Ruan Chao's situation at the mine. Pick something nice to say that won't offend him. Let's have a meal together, and this matter will be over. If you keep dragging it out, don't talk about others. Even I will think that there's something wrong with you. What can happen to me? Really? He Dongfeng shook his head helplessly. Okay. We'll contact each other again when you reach Nanjiang tomorrow. Brother Jin, you know my character. I know. Just sleep well. See you tomorrow afternoon. Jin Kuang hung up the phone and fiercely slapped his goddaughter's butt, waking her up. Get dressed and get up. Follow me back to Nanjiang. What's the matter? It's so late at night. Can't you leave tomorrow morning? Jin Kuang glared at him. Something important. The girl could only reluctantly pick up her underwear. She cursed in her heart that this damn fatty only knew how to take care of himself. When they were doing it just now, she was almost out of breath. Now he didn't allow her to rest and urged her to hurry up. Wasn't it just so that he could grope her to satisfy his desire on the way? Didn't he think about how tired she was just now? However, for the sake of that huge living expenses, she had no choice but to obey Jin Kuang's orders. Who asked her to be his woman? Thinking about this year, she had suffered a lot for material things. When Jin Kuang said one, she didn't dare to say two. When Jin Kuang said to go to the east, she didn't dare to go to the west. When Jin Kuang said to eat with her mouth, she didn't dare to use her hands. This kind of life, she was asking for it. Jin Kuang had been a shrewd person all his life. There were some things that he could see very clearly. He did not believe He Dongfeng's words, so he had to rush back as soon as possible. If He Dongfeng hid the whole thing for him, then he would not be able to explain it to Su Yun. Therefore, he told He Dongfeng that he would rush to Nanjiang tomorrow, and would only arrive in the afternoon. However, he left overnight and strived to reach He Dongfeng's doorstep tomorrow morning. This way, even if He Dongfeng wanted to quit, he wouldn't be able to. This matter had to be done this way. After Jin Kuang thought it through, he called the driver and quickly put on his clothes. Because he was too fat, he was very clumsy when he put on his clothes. He could only let his goddaughter beside him put on her clothes and reach out to help him. It was really not good to be fat. Jin Kuang could not even see his toes when he lowered his head, so he felt that it was difficult to put on his pants, let alone shoes. He could only trouble the girl beside him who had slept with him for a year, and was almost tired of sleeping with him. Jin Kuang wondered if he should go to the university to look for a different taste after this matter was over. Jin Kuang did not feel that he was a bad person for these girls who were old enough to be his daughters. Instead, he felt that he had let them down. If it were not for his generosity, how could these girls be able to carry bags that cost tens of thousands of yuan? How could they be able to drive luxury cars that cost 500,000 or 600,000 yuan? All of this was thanks to him. He had worked hard to think of ways to earn money, so that he could always have spare money to help these girls who could even abandon their self-love for vanity. When Jin Kuang walked out of the hotel with his goddaughter in his arms, the driver was already waiting for him at the door. There were thousands of bosses like him in the world. The number of goddaughters who had destroyed their life values because of their selfish desires was 100 times more than the number of people in their group. He Dongfeng and Nanjiang did not sleep well the entire night. After hanging up the phone with Jean Kwang, he stood on the balcony and smoked. His wife was still sleeping soundly on the bed. She had no idea what was going on in her man's mind. The past events from many years ago once again appeared in He Dongfeng's life. This made He Dongfeng quite distressed. His concept of life was to live one day at a time. He absolutely could not regret the past. This was why he had achieved what he had today. But he really regretted this matter. If it were not for the fact that he wanted to get back the 100,000 yuan, there would not be today's trouble with the Three Lotus Society's president. He was very clear about what he had done. These things had been rotting in his stomach, so much so that he even believed that he had not done those things. But the truth was the truth. It could never be changed because of the passage of time. No. He Dongfeng thought to himself. He absolutely could not go back on this matter. Even if Jean Kwang wanted him to give this face, he could not do it. He had to think of a reason. Tomorrow morning he would take his wife and children and leave Nanjiang to avoid the limelight. But where to go? He Dongfeng put out the cigarette in his hand and thought to himself, I got it. Didn't his wife always want to go abroad? Then he would give her a chance. Although his wife was already an old woman, she had given her all for this family for so many years. It was time for him to repay her. He would settle this matter tomorrow. He would find a travel company that he was familiar with and had connections to get a work visa for his family. The kind that was for more than half a year. This way he could go out for a while. He believed that the young president of the Three Lotus Society did not have the time to wait for him for half a year. Brother Jean, I'm sorry. You'll have to think of another way. Before I board the plane tomorrow, I'll tell you again. My wife is seriously ill and can only be treated abroad. I hope you can understand my difficulties. After making up his mind, He Dongfeng went to wash his face with cold water and crawled back into bed to sleep. He Dongfeng had encountered everything in half his life. This was nothing. 5 words floated across the sky. This was nothing. But he still could not sleep. On the same night, different people were doing different things. Some were in bed, some were in a hurry on the highway, and some were unable to sleep. But on this summer night, most people were waiting in front of the television, preparing beer and side dishes, waiting for the results of the World Cup game after game. Chapter 909. He Dongfeng did not expect that when he woke up early in the morning and was preparing to go out to arrange for his family's overseas trip, Jean Kwang's luxury car, which was rare even among Nanjiang's coal bosses, had already stopped in front of his villa. This really caught He Dongfeng off guard. For a moment, He Dongfeng did not know what to do next. A minute ago, he was still enthusiastically telling his wife about going overseas for a trip. Now he was afraid that this matter could not be done. Sigh, if he had known earlier, he would not have said it so early. In life, the higher the hope, the greater the disappointment. Many things were like this. Jean Kwang's driver rushed the whole night before he had the chance to block He Dongfeng at the door. One had to know that he had stopped the car less than a minute ago. If he had come a little later and could not block He Dongfeng, he would probably have been scolded by his boss for no reason. Although he had already exceeded the speed limit by more than 50% on the highway where there were no cameras. After all, the car was good. It was very easy to reach 250 to 60 kilometers per hour. Jean Kwang was just about to get out of the car when he saw He Dongfeng leaving. He smiled in his heart. Obviously, this he guy had some thoughts. Otherwise, for a guy like him who usually woke up at 8:30 a.m., he should still be snoring loudly at 7:30 a.m. Why would he appear in front of him? But this was also good. It saved him the trouble of visiting. What are you going to do so early in the morning? After Jean Kwang got out of the car, he did not expose He Dongfeng's thoughts. He narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, Are you going to exercise your body? Haha, good news, good news. Our bodies should really exercise now. Otherwise, I'm really afraid that we won't be able to get up if we get sick. He Dongfeng knew that Jean Kwang was giving him a way out, so he could only smile and reply, Yes, I'm going to go out for a run and buy some breakfast. Haha, exercise, exercise. Everyone says that life lies in exercise. I should exercise. These years, my body is really not good. I'm old, ha ha ha. Everyone could hear that He Dongfeng's laughter was very forced. Life lies in exercise? People who really thought so would have gotten up at 5 a.m. and run around Nanjiang's Mount Hulong, right? How could they go out to exercise at this time? However, if no one exposed this blatant lie, Jin Kwang wouldn't disrespect his friend like this. I've been sitting in the car all night. It's time for me to get some exercise. Let's go and run 2 laps together to exercise our bodies. For Jin Kwang to say such a thing, it was simply inconceivable. Of course, he was very clear about his own useless body. Last night, he was lying on top of his goddaughter. And before he could even move twice, he was already out of breath. His waist felt like it was broken, and he couldn't support his body. With a bang, he pressed down on his goddaughter, almost causing her to suffocate. This made him realize a very serious problem. He was afraid that right now, he could only enjoy the blissful life of lying between a woman's legs. The two of them, who only had money, status and women in their lives, did not have the word exercise at all. Now that they suddenly started running, they quickly felt that their stamina was running out. After running 8 or 9 steps, Jin Kwang's breathing became obviously heavier. The excess fat on his body made him feel very tormented. Dongfeng, about what I told you last night. Don't tell me you don't want to give me face? Of course not. I will definitely give face to Brother Jin. Not to mention that you want me to meet someone. Even if you want me to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of fire, I will not hesitate. He Dongfeng's answer was very straightforward. His stamina was not much better than Jin Kwang's. Although he did not look as fat as Jin Kwang, after a dozen steps, his legs were as heavy as sand. After running a few more steps, Jin Kwang was already out of breath. He knew that his body lacked exercise, but he did not expect it to be so lacking. He had only run a dozen steps. He had not even run 10 meters, and he already felt that he could not hold on. Sigh, his skin was really hopeless. I can't run anymore. Jin Kwang stopped. To a certain extent, he had also saved He Dongfeng. He Dongfeng could not run anymore. Let's find a place to have breakfast. Let's go get in my car. Let's talk while we eat. He Dongfeng knew that he could not refuse. After all, if it were not for Jin Kwang's operation, his business would not have lasted until now. Since Jin Kwang had said so, he could not refuse. He could only agree. Then, he called his wife and said that he had an urgent matter. He would talk about what he had said in the morning later. He was afraid that he would not have time to go home today. Although He Dongfeng's wife was helpless, she knew her husband's difficulties. Other than understanding, what else could she do? The girl in the car looked at Fatty Jean, who could not be dragged after running a dozen steps. She actually had a feeling that she had never had before in her heart. Why did she have to lie under such a man for material things? With her looks and figure, she could make the group of handsome boys on the school basketball team go crazy for her. At her age, what kind of sunny boyfriend could she not find? Why did she have to ruin herself like this? However, this thought only flashed through her mind. She quickly realized that the group of silly boys on the school basketball team could not afford to buy her a bag that cost 30,000 yuan, let alone a BMW sports car. Life, what was wrong with being more realistic? At least she still had the capital now. When she was old, no one would give her such a life even if she wanted to. Jin Kwang brought He Dongfeng to the front of the car. He let his goddaughter get out of the car and sit in the front passenger seat. He wanted to talk to He Dongfeng in the back seat. Of course, they were not talking about meeting Su Yun. They were talking about this year's coal market. This year, China's coal prices had been lowered again and again. The workers were no longer hiding their opinions. Some people were even alarmist, saying that the company was going to close down, and that it was no longer working. Speaking of these things, the two guys who could be considered influential people in Nanjiang were also a little depressed. Soon, the driver brought them to the most high-end breakfast shop in Nanjiang. Perhaps the things here were too expensive for the working class to afford, or perhaps it was past the peak time for breakfast, so there were not many people in the shop. The few of them casually ordered some food. Jin Kwang asked the driver to send his goddaughter, who had eaten, back to her university. Then he began to talk about Su Yun. Dongfeng, I understand you. You don't like to talk about those old and rotten things. But we can't afford to offend Su Yun. Jin Kuang said. Don't look at his young age. He's more capable than us. Let me tell you this. You know what kind of position the Sanlian society has in Taiwan, right? He's the president. Although He Dongfeng did not refute Jin Kuang's words, he still said what was in his heart. I'm not going to Taiwan. I'm in the mainland. The mainland? You know the famous Black Widow Yi Fala of Xinjiang, right? You've stayed in Xinkai Hotel before, right? That's also his. Jin Kuang said slightly exaggeratedly. I didn't know about these things before. If I wasn't lucky enough to meet him on the plane, I wouldn't dare to believe it. Have you seen the newspapers these few days? Sky Entertainment Group. That's the leader of our Huaxia's film and entertainment industry. What kind of woman is the white-lipped, bamboo-leaved, and awe-inspiring woman? To us, she's too high to reach. But to him, she's just one of the women by his side. Chapter 9-10. It took He Dongfeng a while to recover from his shock. Brother Jean, I know you won't make such a boring joke with me. But I don't understand. Such a capable young man. Why would he want to find a village boy who had worked in my small mine before? This doesn't make sense. Jin Kuang was also surprised by this. Yes, it didn't make sense. He also felt that it didn't make sense. However, there were too many unreasonable and inexplicable things in the world. It wasn't like this was the only one. There was nothing to be surprised about, right? He was looking for this person, and there was no reason to explain the reason to him. How could Jin Kuang ask why? I know this doesn't make sense, but this is the truth. Maybe that Ruan kid offended him back then. He has made a name for himself, so he wants to show off in front of him? Of course, Jin Kuang was talking nonsense. If a person had this kind of mentality, they would definitely not be able to reach Su Yun's current height. Jin Kuang had interacted with many people in his life. None of those who had achieved great things were narrow-minded. Brother Jin, I'm afraid you can't believe your own words, right? He Dongfeng drank the sea cucumber porridge in front of him, and shook his head helplessly at Jin Kuang. I just don't know. How can I not panic when such a capable person is looking for me? Jin Kuang knew that this guy must have something on his mind. He was not a rash kid who had just entered society. What kind of people had he not seen before? What kind of world had he not seen before? How could he be nervous? However, Jin Kuang did not expose him. What are you nervous about? It might be a good thing to get to know each other and make friends. Don't think too much. Everyone is together to make friends. I don't believe that you, He Dongfeng, are such a dog meat can't be put on the table person. The you I know is not such a person. He Dongfeng could only accept Jin Kuang's flattery, with a bitter smile. Only he himself knew what was on his mind. Sigh, this matter could not be avoided. He could only brace himself and solve it. If it was really not a big deal and just to make friends, He Dongfeng would be lucky. If this matter was a disaster, he would not be able to drag his family to avoid it. After the driver sent Jin Kuang's goddaughter back to school, he immediately returned. When the girl got off the bus and entered the school, she was definitely the center of attention. College students had become more holistic, so it was not difficult for people to figure out her current occupation. After that, many envious gazes began to turn into mockery. Now that such a scene was happening at the entrance of a university, everyone was no longer surprised. Soon, everything returned to normal. The campus was still the same. It had a different atmosphere and environment from society. After the driver returned to the breakfast shop, Jin Kuang invited He Dongfeng to go to the company with him. He would not let He Dongfeng go at this juncture. After getting into the car, Jin Kuang called Su Yun in front of He Dongfeng with a smile, and told Su Yun that he was already with He Dongfeng. Moreover, he had arranged a meal at the largest seafood restaurant in Nanjiang at noon, and asked Su Yun to attend. Su Yun was very surprised by Jin Kuang's efficiency. This guy's ability and scheming were definitely different from ordinary people. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to handle things so quickly. Of course, he would definitely attend the appointment. Their purpose for coming to Nanjiang was for this matter. Once time fell into waiting, it passed particularly slowly. After Ruan Qingshuang knew that she could meet the private mine boss where her brother used to work, she began to become anxious. If it were not for Su Yun's occasional persuasion, she really did not know how to endure the few hours of waiting. Finally, it was noon. After Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang arrived at the location for the appointment, Jin Kuang and He Dongfeng were already waiting at the door. Jin Kuang greeted them warmly, made a simple introduction, and brought them to the room. Jin Kuang knew that there were some things that he could not let outsiders participate in. Otherwise, he could casually call over a dozen city leaders to accompany him. Today there were only the four of them here: Su Yun, Ruan Qingshuang, Jin Kuang, and He Dongfeng. There was not a single outsider. A luxurious room, a large table for 18 people. With just the four of them sitting, it really seemed a little cold and cheerless. However, when the dishes were served, the table did not seem so cold and cheerless. A king crab that was half a meter wide took up a considerable amount of space. This was the signature dish of this hotel, so naturally, they had to order it. Jin Kuang personally poured wine for them while introducing the specialties here. Obviously, he was a regular here. However, he had never poured wine for others while eating here. He Dongfeng would not let Jin Kuang pour wine for him. After Jin Kuang poured wine for Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang, he snatched the wine bottle and filled Jin Kuang's glass, then filled it for himself. Of course, Ruan Qingshuang did not know how to drink, but she did not refuse Jin Kuang's wine because her mind was not on eating and drinking at all. Even if the king crab was so big, she was not in the mood to look at it. She only wanted to know the truth. Su Yun would not let Ruan Qingshuang wait any longer. He suddenly opened his mouth without any warning, and went straight to the point. He did not give He Dongfeng any face at all. Boss He, I already know about what happened back then. I also know very well about your shady dealings with the casino owner. I just want to know one thing now. These words made He Dongfeng terrified. He did not expect the other party to be so direct. He was so young, but his aura had completely suppressed him. He even felt that his breathing was becoming rapid and difficult. Jin Kuang did not expect Su Yun's opening statement to be so direct. He could not smooth things over. It seemed that he could not get a word in edgewise. He could only see how He Dongfeng resolved it. After Ruan Chao was injured outside the casino, did you find someone to take him away? Su Yun's words were sonorous and forceful. There was no room for doubt. He Dongfeng's head buzzed. He was afraid that the other party would mention this matter to him. No, really not. I really didn't participate in those things at all. I didn't ask Old White Dog to hit people. I just asked him to get the money back. Chairman Su, I swear to the heavens that I'm not lying. If I lie to you, I'll be struck by lightning. Since Su Yun had already been regarded as a god by Jin Kuang, He Dongfeng felt inferior when he did not see him. When he saw him, he was suppressed by his aura to the point that he could not lift his head. That was why he said such slightly inferior words. This did not match his identity, but it matched the current situation. Then who took my brother away? When Ruan Qingshuang said this, Jin Kuang and He Dongfeng suddenly realized. No wonder Su Yun insisted on looking for Ruan Chao. Ruan Chao might be his brother-in-law. Sigh, He Dongfeng's heart was cold. If he had known earlier, he would not have done it in the first place. However, he really did not lie. He really did not know who took Ruan Chao away. After Ruan Chao disappeared, he had inquired about whether he was dead or alive, but there was no news at all. I really don't know, He Dongfeng begged. I know. I shouldn't have let him take the blame. And I shouldn't have colluded with Old White Dog to cheat them of their money at the casino. I have repented for all these things, but I really didn't hurt anyone. I didn't lie. I really didn't lie. He Dongfeng's eyes revealed panic and helplessness. Su Yun believed that such a gaze would not lie. It seemed that they had still failed. The last clue had suddenly been cut off in front of them. Ruan Qingshuang's disappointment quickly appeared on her face, but she did not want Su Yun to worry, so she quickly retracted it. Chapter 9:11. This made Jin Kuang quite nervous. Originally, he thought that after dealing with the matter that Soo-yun needed his help, Soo-yun would definitely owe him a big favor. This way, he could invite Soo-yun out alone at night to eat and drink, and then talk about the matter of him wanting to open a mine in Taiwan. But now he did not dare to mention it. Soo-yun was probably not in the mood to talk to him about this matter. Jin Kwang did not expect the person that Soo-yun was looking for to have such a relationship. This made him feel very vexed. It was as if Dongfeng had ruined this matter. Fate made fools of people. Since this matter was not easy to talk about after it was over, Jin Kwang could only wait for an opportunity to give Soo-yun enough help. Although everything that Jin Kwang did now was help and a favor to Soo-yun, these small things added together could not compare to everything that Soo-yun did on the plane. Jin Kwang's calculation of the ways of the world was much better than his mathematics. He was able to become the CEO of Hongtai. This was enough to prove his ability in interpersonal relationships. No matter whether a person could handle interpersonal relationships, could affect a person's social status. For example, take Liu Bei during the Three Kingdoms. His identity as Emperor Lu's uncle was not recognized by many, but you had to admit that he relied on his ability to handle interpersonal relationships. Not only did he become sworn brothers with Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, but he also invited Zhuge Kongming out of Crouching Dragon Mountain. This was called ability. Jin Kwang did not have much education since he was young. He did not even graduate from primary school, and could only recognize a few big words. So he did not read many books. However, he had watched the TV series Romance of the Three Kingdoms. After watching the Three Kingdoms, some people admired Guan Yu's loyalty and bravery. They admired Cao Cao's peerless valiance and wisdom. They admired Zhuge Liang's resourcefulness, and even admired Sima Zhao's shrewdness. But there were not many who admired Liu Bei. But Jin Kwang admired Liu Bei. He felt that Liu Bei was the person who knew how to handle interpersonal relationships the best in the Three Kingdoms. Everyone's understanding of books was different. Jin Kwang understood Liu Bei that way in his eyes. Chairman Su, I don't dare to talk about things in other places. But in Nanjiang, if you need any help, just ask. Don't stand on ceremony, make yourself at home. Jin Kwang ended the lunch with these words. He could see that Soo-yun and Ruan Qingshuang were not in the mood to eat. Soo-yun smiled. Chief Jin, with your words, I'm really relieved. Chairman Su, where are you staying now? Jin Kwang struck while the iron was hot. Why don't I make the arrangements so that I can fulfill my duties as a host? No need. Soo-yun shook his head. We came to Nanjiang to inquire about these things. Since there are no results, I don't plan to stay any longer. Thank you for your kindness, President Jin. Jin Kwang was a little disappointed, but he wouldn't force him to stay. Don't be so polite. Isn't this what I should do as a big brother? I don't feel good about not being able to help you, Sai. Ruan Qingshuang was moved by Jin Kwang's emotional card. She said embarrassedly, this matter has already troubled you, Chief Jin. We are already very sorry for making you rush back overnight. Soo-yun didn't plan to be polite anymore. He suggested leaving. After Jin Kwang and Dongfeng watched the car leave, they relaxed and lit a cigarette. This Chairman Su is much younger than I thought. Dongfeng took a puff of his cigarette. Jin Kwang turned to look at him. Dongfeng, you really didn't hide anything from me, right? Brother, you must establish a mutually beneficial relationship with Soo-yun. You can't hide this matter from me. It's really too important to me and to Hongtai Group. After a pause, Jin Kwang said, your mine has been standing for so many years. The scale of your business is getting bigger and bigger. That's all because of Hongtai's support. Brother Jin, look at what you're saying. Even if I'm playing games with someone, I won't play games with you. Dongfeng hurriedly explained. I've already told you everything I know. If there's anything I'm hiding, I'll be struck by lightning and struck by lightning. Jin Kwang waved his hand. He didn't believe in things like swearing. Feudal superstitions had been eradicated for so many years. Who would still care about these things? You brat humph. You'd better figure out who you're relying on. If I hadn't arrived in time this morning, do you really think I'd believe you were going for morning exercise? Wearing formal leather shoes for morning exercise? Do you know what you're doing? Burning toilet paper in your grave, trying to fool a ghost. Brother Jean. He Dongfeng was exposed. He knew it was useless to explain. I'm a little muddle-headed, but I promise, just this once, there won't be a second time. If your ideological awareness is really that high, then put some effort into this matter. It would be even better if you could find news of Ruan Chao. Jin Kuang narrowed his eyes. I'm not joking with you. What I said is true. He Dongfeng smiled bitterly in his heart. Where was he going to find him? This person had been missing for several years. Perhaps he was already dead. He wasn't a police officer. Where was he going to find him? However, he didn't say that out loud. He nodded repeatedly and said, Yes. Brother Jean is right. I'll definitely use my connections to find clues. Once there's any news, I'll tell you immediately. That's right. For the sake of everyone's interests and future. Of course, Jin Kuang wouldn't tell him that he wanted to go to Taiwan to open a mine. Before he had full confidence in the matter, he wouldn't talk nonsense. He wasn't one of those hot-blooded youths who were full of idealism. He wouldn't be able to boast about the people around him before he could do anything. He Dongfeng bid farewell to Jin Kuang and returned home. His wife and children weren't in the mood. When they saw that He Dongfeng had returned home, they questioned him. Next time, if you're not sure, don't say it. I've even prepared my luggage, and you said that you can't go because you have something to do. He Dongfeng, what do you mean? Faced with his wife's questioning, He Dongfeng wasn't angry. Instead, he sat on the sofa with ease. If you really want to go, then let's go. If Jin Kuang hadn't blocked our door early in the morning, we would have already boarded the plane. All right, stop complaining. Continue to pack your luggage. I'll do this in the afternoon. Let's go out and relax as a family of 3. Hearing that they could travel abroad again, He Dongfeng's wife's mood brightened. She excitedly went with the child to pack the things that had been packed out of the suitcase again. He Dongfeng really needed to go out and relax now. He wanted to go back to his past. He didn't want to be uneasy because of those things in the past. In the afternoon, he hurriedly went to the mine to give a few instructions. Then, he found an old acquaintance of the travel company and went on a 10-day tour to the 6 countries of Europe. He wanted to relax. At this time, Su Yan and Ruan Qingshuang were also preparing to pack their things and leave. Although Jin Kuang didn't ask where they were staying, he arranged for someone to follow them. He personally went to buy some valuable specialties of Nanjiang. He didn't succeed, but he couldn't be short of gifts. Jin Kuang had always done things openly and carefully. After he bought the things, he rushed to the Confucian Hotel where Su Yun and Ruan Qingshuang were staying. He waited in the hotel lobby for Su Yun and the others to check out and leave. However, many things would always change in an instant, just an instant. You're tuning into the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.